Chapter 788. The bright yellow flying sword was not made of metal, but a wooden sword that carried the fragrance of pears. The sword was not sharp, and the attacker was only a fourth tribulation immortal king. However, Sen Luo's eyes narrowed slightly. He did not underestimate the attacker. He did not take the sword light head-on, but disappeared from the spot and appeared on the other side of the bell altar, avoiding the sword. When the guards under the bell altar saw the appearance of the immortal king who came to help, their expressions changed drastically. They were inexplicably terrified and did not feel happy at all. There was even a life immortal guard who was scared out of his wits. He pointed at the immortal king who came to help in the sky and was tongue-tied. Plague. Plague King LV Feng. Why did he come out of seclusion? Ah! As soon as the man mentioned LV Feng's name, a painful expression appeared on his face. He screamed and clutched his neck tightly with both hands. He foamed at the mouth and fell to the ground. With a sizzling sound, his body began to rot without any warning. In just an instant, he had turned into a pool of bubbling yellowish-green pus and blood. Hee, is this old man's name something that a junior like you can mention? In the sky, a fat old man wearing a mink fur hat snorted disdainfully. He summoned the bright yellow flying sword into his hand and landed on the ground. He strode toward Sen Luo who was on the other side of the bell altar. Because he was too fat, he walked unsteadily like a roly-poly doll, which was comical. His slightly squinted eyes looked kind, but those who knew his personality would feel that his smile was too gloomy. LV Feng, if you leave within 3 breaths, I won't hold you accountable. Sen Luo's tone was as cold as ever, but the fear in his eyes was not concealed. LV Feng was still smiling, as if he did not take Sen Luo's words seriously. He put away the bright yellow wooden sword and took out a black mud-shaped treasure from his sleeve. He threw it toward the sky. As soon as the treasure rose into the sky, it immediately turned into a poisonous black smoke that descended and spread to a radius of 10 miles. 10 miles didn't seem wide, but the plants within 10 miles withered in an instant. The guards screamed and foamed at the mouth. They fell to the ground and did not wake up. Their bodies were rotting bit by bit. Sen Luo did not dodge. He only released his aura, and the black smoke could not get within 3 feet of him. This is the plague technique. In the 9th star, Ning Fan's expression changed as he recognized the various abilities that LV Feng used. The plague technique was extremely difficult to cultivate. If the cultivator fails, he or she would die from the backlash of the technique. The plague art was extremely difficult to cultivate. Those who cultivated the plague art would die from the backlash of the plague art if they did not succeed. Among millions of people, only one would be lucky enough to cultivate this technique. Once this technique was successfully cultivated, its lethality would naturally be extremely terrifying, and it would be even more difficult to guard against when harming and killing people. When the little demon girl saw LV Feng, her eyes could not help but reveal a hint of annoyance. This Lu Feng was a Divine Void Pavilion cultivator, but he had a terrible reputation within the Divine Void Pavilion. He was cold-blooded and bloodthirsty, and Divine Void disciples often avoided him like scorpions or snakes. This little witch was no exception. LV Feng was a cultivator of the Godly Void Pavilion. However, he had a bad reputation in the Godly Void Pavilion. He was known to be cold-blooded and bloodthirsty. The disciples of the Godly Void Pavilion usually avoided him like a snake or a scorpion. The little demoness was no exception. He suddenly raised his hand and pointed, and a black sun appeared behind him. The black sun collapsed and turned into black fire crows that filled the sky. The fire crows transformed into a giant finger made of black flames that covered the sky. Without any mercy, the fire crows pressed down on Lu Bu. All of a sudden, LV Feng's expression changed drastically. Without saying anything, he turned around and ran away while complaining incessantly. Dark obsidian finger. Why didn't anyone tell me that old devil Sun Luo knows the secret technique of the dark race? As soon as he finished his words, everything within his sight fell into the attack of Sun Luo's finger. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The black flame spread unscrupulously on the ground, tearing it apart. The entire place was plunged into darkness. Only the sound of ancient bells could be heard from the surroundings of the altar. The black flames could not get close to the altar at all. LV Feng screamed in pain as he fell into the attack of the black flames. He was extremely shocked. The black obsidian finger was a secret technique of the dark race. Not only was it infinitely powerful, but it could also use the power of darkness to corrupt one's cultivation and destroy one's Tao. The 7 layers of blue light protecting LV Feng's body were bitterly resisting the black flames. Countless cracks had already appeared on the blue light. The black flames broke through the blue light and invaded LV Feng's body. In just half a breath of time, LV Feng's injuries worsened and his cultivation began to rapidly fall. LV Feng's cultivation was originally close to the peak of the 4th eternal tribulation. But now, it rapidly fell to the edge of the 4th eternal tribulation and continued to fall to the 3rd eternal tribulation. This was because Sun Luo was too lazy to kill him. Otherwise, Sun Luo's black obsidian finger would have been more than enough to instantly kill LV Feng. Scram! A gust of wind ruthlessly swept out from Sun Luo's sleeve. It was like a dragon sweeping through the skies as it smashed into LV Feng's chest. LV Feng was sent flying backwards like a meteor as he was blasted out of the range of the black flames. The horrified LV Feng retreated continuously in the sky. He finally stabilized his momentum and landed on the ground. He was already kneeling on the ground with severe injuries. He coughed out blood incessantly and his aura was extremely weak. At this moment, LV Feng no longer had any of his previous arrogance. He stood up unwillingly and looked in Sun Luo's direction. His eyes were filled with deep reverence and confusion. Then, he gritted his teeth and turned to flee. He was in awe of Sun Luo's strength, which was far beyond his imagination. He didn't understand why Sun Luo, who had always been cold-blooded, would be so merciful to spare his life. It was the first time in his life that LV Feng felt so close to death when he fell into the black obsidian finger. As long as Sun Luo willed it, he would die. Strange, strange. This old demon Sun Luo has always been cold-blooded and heartless. Why would he spare my life? How unlucky, how unlucky. This old man had clearly divined that there was someone here who was destined to be my benefactor. Someone who could help me fulfill my dream of becoming an emperor. I didn't expect this divination to be wrong. There was clearly only Sun Luo here, and he clearly looked like he was about to die. He was definitely going to die. There was no one here who was destined to be my benefactor. This divination had misled me too much. Although old demon Sun Luo didn't kill me, this old man's cultivation had fallen to the 3rd eternal tribulation. To hell with the divination. LV Feng sighed and fled with a long face. The heaven realm was vast and incomparably vast. LV Feng was only the one closest to the bell altar among all the experts in the godly void pavilion. Far away, there were still many old monsters who sensed Sun Luo's arrival. They rushed towards the bell altar without stopping to help. The black flames gradually dissipated. The ground was full of holes and was in ruins. Only the bell altar was protected by the mysterious bell and remained undamaged. Sun Luo stepped on the ruins and stood below the bell altar with his hands behind his back. He looked at the giant golden bell on the 9-layered Yuan mound and muttered to himself coldly. Xianyu, when you encountered danger in the Kun mountain vestige, it was LV Feng who happened to pass by and saved your life. He didn't know that he saved you once. Today, I helped him once. We don't owe each other anything. Even though Sun Luo had destroyed one of LV Feng's tribulations, he had unknowingly paved the way for him to break through the 5th eternal tribulation. LV Feng could only blame himself for killing countless people in order to break through the 4th eternal tribulation. There were too many hidden dangers in his magic power. If he doesn't destroy his cultivation base and recultivate, he would never be able to break through the fifth eternal tribulation. Besides, if he forcefully breaks through to the next realm, only death awaits him. Although Sun Luo seemed to have injured LV Feng severely, he had actually helped him. LV Feng naturally could not understand this, he actually let LV Feng go. In the ninth star, the little demoness could not believe the scene in front of her. Ning Fan, on the other hand, wore a thoughtful look. He possessed a five-colored medicine soul and he was located in the ninth star of the Sun Luo universe. His senses were especially sharp. He could vaguely feel that after LV Feng's cultivation base was destroyed, the flow of his magic power became much smoother and less sluggish. Even though his cultivation base had dropped, his strength did not seem to have decreased but increased instead. Could it be that Sun Luo has made an exception and helped LV Feng? Ning Fan pondered. In the outside world, Sun Luo stared at the heaven-suppressing bell. After a long time, he finally moved his feet and stepped onto the first floor of the nine-floored Yuan Qiu on the stage. As soon as he took his first step, a wave of aura force that could suppress heaven and earth immediately spread out from the heaven-suppressing bell and pressed down on Sun Luo. The strength of this aura force was comparable to the aura force of the first immortal venerated immortal of all times. Under the impact of the aura force, Sun Luo's footsteps actually slowed down and he remained silent for a while. He touched the fiery ring and opened the giant blood-red door. Then, he summoned the destruction beast and ordered. Qianshuan, stay below the stage and protect me. The destruction beast was naturally unwilling to obey Sun Luo's order. However, when it saw the heaven-suppressing bell, its eyes suddenly became sorrowful. It lowered its head and let out a low roar as if it had agreed to Sun Luo's order. Sun Luo nodded his head in satisfaction. He walked up the stone stairs step by step. The aura force became stronger with each step he took. However, Sun Luo remained unmoved. His eyes were sometimes cold and emotionless and sometimes filled with a rare gentleness. That gentleness was an expression that was rarely seen in the long river of his life. He seemed to have recalled the day when he and Qianyu first met. He had helped her kill all of her enemies but she was not happy about it. She said, Sun Luo, the blood sea of cultivation is not the life I yearn for. You don't understand. Yes, he would never understand what Qianyu wanted in his entire life. The second layer, Yuan Qiu, was comparable to a second tribulation immortal venerated immortal. The third layer, Yuan Qiu, was comparable to a third tribulation immortal king. The fourth layer, Yuan Qiu, was comparable to a fourth tribulation immortal king. At this point, Sun Luo was still unmoved by the aura force. However, his expression gradually frowned as he recalled some unhappy past events. That year, he became the #1 cultivator below the true immortal realm in the Eastern Heaven immortal realm with his peak spirit profound cultivation level. With the divine ability of the void scripture, he even killed a mid-stage true enlightenment realm cultivator. That year, the realm war between the demon spirit land and the four heavens immortal realm began once again. He shuttled between thousands of demons alone and killed them. He was regarded as the best candidate to be the next Void Emperor by the experts of the four heavens. While he was slaying the demon, Qianyu was silently playing chess with her senior brother. Their gazes would occasionally meet, and it stung his eyes deeply. When he first revealed his feelings to her, she tactfully rejected him. Sun Luo, you are a natural cultivator, but I am not. We are not suitable for each other. You don't understand what I want. The fifth layer, Yuan Qiu, was comparable to a fifth tribulation immortal king. The sixth layer, Yuan Qiu, was comparable to a sixth tribulation immortal emperor. The seventh layer, Yuan Qiu, was comparable to a seventh tribulation immortal emperor. Originally, only women who were chosen as sacrifices could ignore the pressure of the heaven-suppressing bell and go all the way to the ninth layer, Yuan Qiu. In addition, only the ninth tribulation immortal emperor could resist the pressure of the heaven-suppressing bell and reach the top of Yuan Qiu. Sen Luo stepped on the 7th layer, and his pace slowed down for the first time. If he didn't summon the incipient Saint Ring, he could only resist the pressure of the 7th layer at most with his cultivation level. He couldn't go to the 8th layer, but he was much stronger than he was in the past. Legend had it that the heaven-suppressing bell contained a great secret left by the Eastern Sky Ancestor Emperor. As for what the secret was, only the Divine Void Emperor and the others didn't know. For this secret, the godly Void Pavilion would hold a bell sacrifice every few years to choose suitable sacrifices and offer them to the heaven-suppressing bell in an attempt to obtain the great secret of the bell. Even if they didn't obtain the great secret, after the bell sacrifice, the primordial spirit of the sacrifice would be purified by the sound of the bell. Once it was brewed into wine, it would become primordial spirit wine, which was a supreme tonic for the cultivators of the ancient times. That year, the Shao clan's patriarch chose Qianyu as a sacrifice and offered her to the heaven-suppressing bell. That year, Qianyu willingly became a sacrifice and brewed the primordial spirit of the first tribulation of eternity into wine. It was said that it was this wine that saved the seriously injured and dying young Emperor Su Kong. Not only did it cure his dying primordial spirit, but it also made the young Emperor Su Kong's cultivation level improve greatly, allowing him to break through the 6th tribulation of eternity and succeed as the true Void Emperor. That year, Sen Luo was still in seclusion. The moment he came out, he received a cup of primordial spirit wine and a letter. In the letter, there was only one sentence: "I'm sure you don't understand my choice." Sen Luo's expression was wooden. He didn't say a word and tore the letter. He caught a thought-shatterer expert of the Shao clan and forcibly searched his soul and memory to understand the truth. He didn't believe that Qianyu would sacrifice herself for his senior brother. From the memory of the Shao clan's patriarch, Sen Luo saw that on the eve of the bell sacrifice, an immortal king from the 10 great secret races came to the Shao clan and made a deal with the Shao clan's patriarch. This deal was the reason why Qianyu was willing to become a sacrifice. In fact, the Void Emperor had never drunk Qianyu's primordial spirit wine. His injuries were healed because of other opportunities. The immortal emperors of the 10 great secret races were from the Dark Race. He found that immortal king of the Dark Race and killed him, but he couldn't find much useful information from his memory. He couldn't understand what kind of deal Qianyu had made for her to become a sacrifice for the bell sacrifice. The only thing he knew was that the Dark Race also needed Qianyu's primordial spirit wine. It was said that her primordial spirit was different from others and had a special effect on a great emperor of the Dark Race. Qianyu's primordial spirit and even her corpse were put into the wine. There were many people who shared the wine, not just the Dark Race, so Sen Luo went crazy and killed his way into the Dark Race. He risked his monarch Qi and finally killed a 6th tribulation great emperor of the Dark Race who had drunk the wine. He even took a secret treasure of the Dark Race. Sen Luo was seriously injured and chased by the Dark Race, but he didn't care. He rushed back to the East Sea Star region and went straight to the Bell Altar in the heavenly prison realm. With the secret treasure of the Dark Race, he swore to destroy the heaven-suppressing bell and take back the remnant Tao left by Qianyu. The remnant Tao of an immortal didn't disappear, so it wasn't really dead. As long as there was enough reincarnation power of a saint, the remnant Tao could be reborn. He only had one wish, and that was to bring Qianyu back to life. Unfortunately, his crazy behavior was stopped by the entire godly Void Pavilion. Unfortunately, with his 5 tribulation immortal king cultivation, he couldn't rush to the 9th level of the bell altar. He didn't even have the chance to touch the heaven-suppressing bell. That day, he was besieged by a group of divine void cultivators and learned a shocking fact from his senior brother. Qianyu's death was caused by the Dark Race and the godly Void Pavilion. Both sides gained great benefits from it. Even the Eastern Sky experts drank the primordial spirit wine and gained benefits. That day, the Void Emperor told Sen Luo, "Junior brother, you are wrong. You shouldn't have killed the Dark Race cultivators and caused a disaster for the Divine Void." At that moment, Sen Luo looked at the Void Emperor in disbelief. He only felt that his senior brother was so strange, as if he had never known him before. You don't love her? Sen Luo asked. How could you have such a stupid idea? The Void Emperor was surprised. At that moment, Sen Luo looked up to the sky and laughed. He fell into a trance and his black hair turned red. Good. You don't love her, I do. The world doesn't care about her, I cherish her. Therefore, he started a massacre in the divine void. The people he killed were all people who betrayed Qianyu for the primordial spirit wine. Among them, there were even many old monsters from the Shao family. Therefore, he started a massacre in the entire eastern sky, overturning 107 star fields. No one knew that his motive for killing people was just for a cup of primordial spirit wine. Looking for fireworks was just a side goal. Later, he was besieged by the dark race and was on the verge of death. Later, his master paid a huge price to appease the dark race and let him go. And he was imprisoned in the heavenly prison for 45 million years until today. His biggest regret was that he didn't kill the 3 old monsters who drank the primordial spirit wine, including the Netherworld Emperor. Those were the cultivators he had to kill when he returned to the eastern sky. Until today, he still didn't understand Qianyu's heart and didn't know the truth of that year. He was still looking for an answer. He was still obsessed with killing 3 people and destroying 1 bell. What he was even more obsessed with was using the power of time to gather the power of reincarnation. He wanted to use the power of reincarnation to revive Qianyu's broken Tao. In order to achieve this goal, he could give up everything and kill everything in front of him. He came to destroy the heaven-suppressing bell with the determination to die. He wanted to use his hot blood to exchange for Qianyu to open her eyes again and see the prosperity of the eastern sky immortal world. Mu Tu is my 2nd primordial spirit, and San Shen is my 3rd primordial spirit. If I want to set foot on the 8th layer of Yuan Xiu, I won't hesitate to destroy my own primordial spirit. Burn. The word burn contained a world-shaking determination. Sen Luo suddenly raised his hand and made a hand seal. 2 figures suddenly appeared beside him. One was Mu Tu, and the other was San Shen. Both of their eyes were resolute and burning at the same time. Both of them slowly burned into ashes, but no one showed a look of fear. Of these 2 primordial spirits, one was meticulous, and the other was timid and shriveled, but both of them integrated with Sen Luo's emotions. They might have different ideas from Sen Luo on other matters, but when it came to saving Qianyu, they had the same determination. They weren't afraid of death. When the 2 primordial spirits burned into ashes, Sen Luo's momentum suddenly rose, and he stepped on the 8th layer of Yuan Xiu. This layer of Yuan Xiu could only be reached by a few 8 tribulation immortal emperors. There was still quite a distance to the 9th layer of Yuan Xiu. Sen Luo's eyes sharpened, and he ignited the primordial spirit of his main body and walked toward the 9th layer of Yuan Xiu step by step. Burn! 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 His eyes were filled with boundless obsession and insanity. He had already deduced this scene millions of times. Step by step, he climbed the 9th layer of Yuan Xiu, and step by step, he walked to the foot of the heaven-suppressing bell. The heaven-suppressing bell was one of the relics of the Eastern Sky Ancestor Emperor. It had the power to destroy heaven and earth, and when the bell rang, the world would be destroyed. Looking at the giant golden bell that was close at hand, Sen Luo looked up to the sky and roared. The blood flame under his feet scattered along with his roar. He raised his hand and punched heavily on the heaven-suppressing bell. Dong! An ancient bell sound came from the heaven-suppressing bell and spread to the entire heaven realm. The bell sound was mixed with a huge rebounding force, and it bombarded the bones of Sen Luo's right arm, causing the flesh and blood of his entire right arm to rot in an instant, revealing the ghastly white bones. The rebounding bell sound was comparable to the full-force attack of an eternal 9 tribulation immortal emperor, and it quickly spread to Sen Luo's entire body, causing him serious injuries. Sen Luo retreated in a sorry state before he stabilized his body. His aura was already in chaos, and there was regret in his eyes, but he was even more determined. Unfortunately, the power of this punch did not cause the slightest bit of damage to the heaven-suppressing bell. No matter what, he had to achieve his long-cherished wish today, no matter what. Sun Luo brat. You slaughtered my Shao family back then, and today, this old man will make you pay with your blood. Several eternal ancient realm escape lights rushed over, and the owner of one of the escape lights let out a shocking roar towards the direction of the bell platform. That person claimed to be a cultivator of the Shao family. That person was one of the 3 fish that escaped the net back then. He is the ancestor of the Shao family. There is a portrait of him in the clan temple. How is this possible? Why is he still alive? If he is really alive, why does he never care about the lives of the Shao family's descendants? In the 9th star, the little demon girl suddenly exclaimed in disbelief. Senluo's eyes suddenly became extremely cold. He flipped his hand and took out 12 secret treasures that were as thin as golden needles, and threw all of them at the approaching person. His words were filled with shocking killing intent. Shao Mu. You are the second person I must kill. Chapter 789. The second batch of reinforcements consisted of 4 people, all in the primordial realm. There were 3 immortal sovereigns and 1 immortal king. The 3 immortal exalts were all at the first tribulation of eternity. The streaks of light were slightly behind the immortal king, and they seemed to be following the immortal king's orders. That immortal king had a cultivation base of the 5th tribulation. His white hair fluttered in the wind and he was clad in silver-scaled battle armor. His entire body radiated an intense aura of death and rot. His body was stiff like a zombie. His eyes had long since decayed, and 2 balls of white light flickered in his empty eye sockets, as if they could replace his eyes. This celestial king was the one who had spoken rudely to Sun Luo before. He was the head of the Shao clan that Sun Luo had spoken of, Shao Mu. The Shao clan of the Eastern Sea Star region used to be one of the elder forces of the godly Void Pavilion. However, 45 million years ago, the Shao clan's patriarch, Shao Mu, died in battle in the Eastern Sea Star region. All the experts of the clan died and the Shao clan declined from then on. What the world didn't know was that the Shao clan's clan head didn't die at that time. He was merely heavily injured and had secluded himself in seclusion ever since. The little demon girl did not know about this. Even in the godly Void Pavilion, only the ancient monsters knew about it, and Sun Luo was one of them. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. The moment Shao Mu sensed Sun Luo's aura appearing in the heaven realm, he immediately rushed over. He swore to kill Sun Luo to vent his anger and avenge the destruction of the Shao clan. Back then, Shao Mu was only slightly weaker than Sun Luo. By relying on his Dao tool's heaven-defying defense, he could even fight Sun Luo to a draw, barely not losing. 45 million years had passed, and Shao Mu was even stronger than before. He believed that he had already surpassed Sun Luo. Therefore, in the beginning, Shao Mu didn't fear Sun Luo. He didn't believe the rumors about Sun Luo's accomplishments. Earlier, when he was still far away, he had angrily roared and called Sun Luo a brat with a bit of disdain. After a furious roar, Shao Mu approached the area. He turned around and saw the shocking aura that far exceeded his expectations. It was impossible for him not to be shocked. Sun Luo first extracted the starry sky soul, and then burned his primordial spirit. At this moment, the power of his aura was not something Shao Mu could imagine. However, Shao Mu thought of the power of his Dao soldier armor, and a strong desire to fight rose in him again. He looked at the 12 golden lights coming at him with disdain and activated the divine light of the silver scale armor to the extreme. This battle armor was called the Kunwa battle armor, and it was his Dao tool that was cultivated using an ancient secret technique. Armor-type Dao soldiers were rare to begin with, and the Kunwa battle armor was a famous Dao soldier from the ancient times. Its defensive power was extremely terrifying, and even an immortal emperor with the 8th tribulation might not be able to break through its defense. Xiao Mu wasn't good at offense, but he was good at defense. It was because of this Dao tool that Xiao Mu was able to escape Sun Luo's pursuit during the great battle back then. With the protection of the Kunwu armor, Xiao Mu did not pay too much attention to Sun Luo's 12 golden rays. He snorted coldly and confidently said to the 3 immortal venerables behind him, "Fellow Taoists, please hide behind this old man and let this old man block these 12 flying needles." As he finished speaking, Xiao Mu raised his finger again and pointed. The vast mana on his body spread out like a waterfall. Circles of divine light sprinkled in the sky and swept toward the 12 golden rays. This divine light was the result of his painstaking cultivation, and it had the ability to defend. The 12 golden rays trembled, and for a moment, they were blocked by the divine light in the sky, unable to advance any further. Seeing that these 12 golden needles were so weak that even his divine light couldn't break through, Xiao Mu was stunned at first, and then he laughed disdainfully. "I didn't expect that after not seeing each other for 45 million years, Sun Luo is actually so weak. He even has the nerve to take out this kind of trash Dharma treasure to make a fool of himself. When I first saw this needle, I thought it was some kind of powerful Dharma treasure, but it seems that I misjudged it." Hearing this, one of the immortal venerables behind Xiao Mu immediately laughed and said, "Fellow Taoist Xiao is very powerful. I admire you. It's not that Sun Luo's Dharma treasure is weak, it's clearly that fellow Taoist Zhao's defense is too shocking." Another immortal venerable said respectfully, "Fellow Taoist Zhao's supreme wood divine light is really powerful. With fellow Taoist Xiao here, Sun Luo will naturally be unable to escape today." The last immortal venerable nodded and said with a smile, "The 4 of us only need to block Sun Luo here, and wait for the other fellow Taoists and the 2 emperors to come to the rescue. That will be a great merit, and we can easily obtain it." At first, these 3 immortal venerables were quite afraid of Sun Luo, but after seeing Sun Luo's Dharma treasure blocked, they couldn't help but feel contempt for Sun Luo. In addition, they were convinced that the Divine Void Emperor and the 2 emperors would come to the rescue soon, and the 4 of them had the advantage in numbers, so they no longer feared Sun Luo. No one thought that Sun Luo's ascension to the 9th level of the altar was inappropriate. In their opinion, Sun Luo had burned his primordial spirit to self-destruct in order to reach such a height, and he was already an arrow at the end of its flight, not worth mentioning. No one feared Sun Luo's glorious achievements, because they didn't believe it. No one cared about the 12 golden needles, because they didn't know the origin of these golden needles. The corners of Sun Luo's mouth curled into a mocking sneer. The 4 people in front of him actually dared to underestimate the power of the 12 golden needles. There was only one ending for them, and that was death. These 12 golden needles were the 12 sky-piercing arrows that the Primal Core Emperor had given to Sun Luo. It was just that they hadn't displayed their power yet, so it wasn't surprising that they couldn't break through Xiao Mu's defense. Once they displayed their power, one sky-piercing arrow was enough to injure Sun Luo, who was fully focused on defense. The combined power of the 12 sky-piercing arrows was something that Xiao Mu and the others couldn't resist at all. Xiao Mu's protective divine light couldn't block the sky-piercing arrows, and his Kunwu armor couldn't block the sky-piercing arrows either. In the past, Sun Luo couldn't break through this armor. Now, with the incomparably sharp sky-piercing arrows in his hands, it was easy for Sun Luo to pierce through this armor. If he wanted to kill Xiao Mu, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. Sun Luo's eyes burst with a strong murderous intent. The woman he deeply loved was named Xiao Qianyu, and she was the niece of the Xiao family patriarch, Xiao Mu. The Xiao family patriarch, Xiao Mu, did not hesitate to sacrifice his niece in order to obtain a cup of primordial spirit wine to increase his cultivation. If it was an outsider who harmed Xiao Qianyu, Sun Luo wouldn't be so angry. However, it was Xiao Qianyu's family who harmed her the most. This was something that Sun Luo couldn't forgive. The 12 golden needles were infused with Sun Luo's shocking murderous intent. With a change of Sun Luo's hand seal, they immediately turned into 12 giant golden arrows. The triangular arrowheads swept with divine light and immediately pierced 12 holes in Xiao Mu's protective divine light. With a flash, the arrows tore through the air and pierced through the bodies of Xiao Mu and the other 3 eternal cultivators. Before the 3 first tribulation celestial venerables could react, each of them had been seriously injured by a sky-piercing arrow. Once their bodies were pierced by the sky-piercing arrows, their entire bodies ignited with golden flames, and they were severely injured in an instant. The 3 of them were so scared that their souls almost left their bodies. They couldn't imagine that the inconspicuous 12 golden needles could be so powerful. Without any hesitation, they immediately abandoned their bodies, and their primordial spirits swept up their respective storage bags. Without a word, they turned around and fled. Xiao Mu was wearing the Kunwu armor. At this moment, there were a total of 9 holes on the armor, and rotten blood was flowing out. The wounds were also burning with golden flames, and as time passed, the golden flames gradually burned his entire body. At this moment, Xiao Mu's eyes were full of shock. He never thought that his Kunwu armor would be so easily broken by Sun Luo. A thought flashed through Xiao Mu's mind, and he suddenly understood something. His face instantly turned pale. He finally recognized the origin of the 12 golden needles. Sky-piercing arrow. It's the sky-piercing arrow of a primordial core emperor. This treasure specializes in destroying Dharma treasures and breaking the defense of treasured armor. If the person hit by the arrow is not strong enough, the arrow wound will ignite with golden flames and destroy the body instantly. Why does Sun Luo have the sky-piercing arrow, and there are 12 of them? Could it be that the rumor that he killed the Abyss Emperor and severely injured the Jinyuan Emperor is true? Could it be that the news of him winning the battle with a primordial core emperor is also true? Could it be that? At this moment, Xiao Mu's mind was already blank. If all these rumors were true, he would not dare to fight with Sun Luo no matter how bold he was. He was not arrogant enough to block a mad demon who could kill an immortal emperor with just a Dao weapon armor. When the 3 immortal supremes turned to escape, Xiao Mu made the same decision. He gritted his teeth, abandoned his body, and rolled up his storage bag. Then, he turned into a beam of light and fled. With his cultivation of the 5th eternal tribulation, he would not have to abandon his body if he had only been hit by 1 sky-piercing arrow. However, his body had been pierced by 9 sky-piercing arrows at the same time, so he had to abandon his body. You want to leave? Can you? Sun Luo did not look at the 3 fleeing immortal supremes. His divine consciousness was only locked on Xiao Mu. To him, he could kill the 3 immortal supremes or not. However, he had to kill Xiao Mu. Die. Sun Luo stood on the 9th level of the bell altar and roared angrily, his devil chi soaring into the sky. As Sun Luo roared, the 12 sky-piercing arrow lights suddenly shattered and turned into a golden autumn wind that swept toward Xiao Mu. Xiao Mu escaped quickly, but the autumn wind formed by the arrow lights blew even faster. Xiao Mu's primordial spirit felt pain when the arrow lights and autumn wind swept past him. In the next moment, countless thin golden threads pierced his primordial spirit. What was the meaning of the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves? This was it. Xiao Mu's primordial spirit was like a withered leaf that was constantly attacked by the sword lights and autumn wind. It became more and more dispirited. Finally, like a fallen leaf, it fell from the sky and smashed on the ground, barely breathing. Sun Luo had finally reached the 9th level of the bell altar, so he naturally would not leave. He ordered the destruction beast that was guarding below the stage. Qianshuan. Go and eat Xiao Mu's primordial spirit to avenge Qianyu. Hearing this, the destruction beast immediately revealed a troubled expression, indicating that it could not do anything to the former head of the Xiao clan. After all, it was once the Xiao clan's guardian divine beast. Xiao Mu immediately cursed when he saw Sun Luo ordering the destruction beast. At this moment, his primordial spirit was seriously injured and had fallen to the enemy's side. He could not move for a while. If he was really eaten by the destruction beast, he would not be able to resist. Damn bastard! You were originally the Shao clan's guardian divine beast. How dare you betray the Shao clan for Shao Qianyu and join the enemy's side? You deserve to die. It would have been fine if Shao Mu did not mention Shao Qianyu, but the moment he did, the destruction beast's eyes immediately emitted a monstrous ferocity. Without any hesitation, it opened its mouth and swallowed Shao Mu's primordial spirit along with his storage bag into its stomach. Seeing this, Sen Luo nodded in satisfaction and looked at the sky again. In that direction, there were still many experts rushing to help. Most of them were perfected immortals. For the time being, there were no ancient cultivators coming. Qianshuan, next, I will do my best to retrieve Qianyu's remnant Dao from the heaven-suppressing bell and revive her with the reincarnation power. Once this process begins, no one can stop it. You will be the one to stop the invaders. After Sen Luo gave the order, the destruction beast's eyes flashed. Although it was unwilling to work with Sen Luo, it still nodded. With a stomp of his 4 feet, he soared into the air and flew toward some black dots on the horizon to block the incoming enemies. Sen Luo turned around and stared at the giant bell in front of him. He activated his dermic power, and flesh grew back on his rotting arm. With a wave of his hand, the 12 sky-piercing arrows flew back and circled around his body. Sen Luo looked at the heaven-suppressing bell, and the coldness in his eyes intensified. He knew that this heaven-suppressing bell had a big secret, and this secret was crucial to the godly Void Pavilion's prosperity. The bell's sacrifice was to uncover this big secret. Even if it failed, they could still obtain the primordial spirit wine from the dead. To the ancient cultivators, the primordial spirit wine was a great tonic. To the cultivators with lower cultivation, the benefits of the primordial spirit wine were immeasurable. He knew all of this. The only thing he could not bear was to use Qianyu as a sacrifice. If it did not concern him, he would let it go. However, if the sacrifice was someone he cared about, it would be different. They are willing to sacrifice you just because they don't care about you. But I can't bear it, and only I can't bear it. At this moment, even though Sen Luo's eyes were cold, his tone was filled with sorrow. He was a heinous devil lord, but even so, he still had a heart and a heart. For some reason, Sen Luo asked Ning Fan a question. Ning Fan, if one day, the person you love is used as a sacrifice to the heaven-suppressing bell. If one day, the person you care about is killed by someone, and both her primordial spirit and corpse are brewed into wine, what would you do? This voice was transmitted. Only Ning Fan could hear it, but the little demoness could not. Ning Fan's eyes were solemn, and he did not answer Sen Luo's question. He gradually understood the reason why Sen Luo attacked the godly Void Pavilion. It was because the heart of his beloved was used as a sacrifice to the heaven-suppressing bell. To be honest, Ning Fan did not have a good impression of Sen Luo, nor did he hate him. It was just the attitude of a stranger. However, at this moment, Ning Fan seemed to feel Sen Luo's sorrow. Sacrifice, sacrifice, these 2 words resounded in Ning Fan's ears. He remembered Sen Luo saying that the little demoness was a sacrifice. Could it be that the little demoness would be used as a sacrifice to the heaven-suppressing bell one day? Could it be that the little demoness' primordial spirit and corpse would be brewed and eaten by someone on that day? Ning Fan knew that he absolutely could not tolerate such a thing. He would stop it no matter what. As for Sen Luo, he must have tried to stop it crazily before, but he was powerless to do so. Even though Sen Luo asked the question, he did not expect Ning Fan to give an answer. As if he already knew how Ning Fan would answer, he said again. How about I ask you to do one more thing? The reward is something that is rather useful to you. What is it? Ning Fan's eyes flickered and asked. I will rescue a woman from the heaven-suppressing bell. You will be responsible for lighting up the fireworks outside East Ocean Planet for me. I want her to see these fireworks. As soon as he finished speaking, Sen Luo suddenly began to crazily mobilize the time power of the quicksand in his body. The time power stored in Ning Fan's 3 apertures also converged into Sen Luo's body. At this moment, Ning Fan's vessel mission was finally completed. Even when he was fighting against the Divine Void Emperor duo, Sen Luo had never used all of his time power. However, at this very moment, he was going to use this power. This brocade box is the first reward that I promised you. This divine token is the reward for lighting up the fireworks. Take it. It's hard to predict whether I will succeed or fail in destroying the heaven-suppressing bell. I will send you away from this place first. If I destroy the heaven-suppressing bell, it will also save you a lot of trouble. If I don't fulfill my long-cherished wish, perhaps one day, you will also follow my path. Sen Luo suddenly took out a jade box and a golden token. He raised his hand and flicked them. The 2 items immediately turned into rays of light and disappeared. In the 9th star, Ning Fan turned his hand and caught them. A jade box and a golden token appeared in his hand. A black ball of light was sealed inside the jade box. That ball of light contained Sen Luo's void power. It had the miraculous effect of dispelling the poison of the void. Ning Fan only took a glance at the ball of light and he was convinced that it could help the little demoness resolve the danger of the poison of the void. The word void was engraved on the golden token. It was written in divine seal script. This is the void token. With this token, even without Great Emperor Shen Kong's help, you will still have the chance to enter the 3rd level of the divine tomb. Do you have the chance to look for the other inheritance of Great Emperor Ancient Chaos? The little demoness' black eyes flashed as she transmitted her voice to Ning Fan to remind him. Ning Fan's expression changed slightly. He remained silent for a while. Before he could give a reply, Sen Luo had already activated his ability. Layers of void power wrapped around him and sent him out of the 9th star, out of the heaven world and to an abandoned star that was extremely far away from Dongming planet. Sen Luo would face the following matters alone. He did not need Ning Fan to continue interfering. Besides, he did not want Ning Fan to disturb his reunion with Qian Yu. Of course, he was also disdainful to do anything to Ning Fan. It was because he was a prideful person. He disdained to break his promise and also disdained to attack a junior of the Ghost Profound Realm who had done him a favor. On the abandoned star, Ning Fan frowned slightly. He kept the void token and did not say anything. He just nodded at the little demoness. Sen Luo had already forced the void token into his hands. If he does not help Sen Luo to set off some fireworks, he would be letting the token down. Speaking of which, this void token might really be of great use to him. Normally, entering the 3rd level of the Divine Tomb would require Great Emperor Shen Kong's approval. Since Ning Fan had killed Sun Yan, Great Emperor Shen Kong certainly did not have a good impression of him. Thus, he would not be kind enough to let him enter the 3rd level of the Divine Tomb to seek his fortune. If this void token could really help him enter the 3rd level, it would be for the best. Since he had already decided to accept this token, he would certainly set off some fireworks for Sen Luo outside Dongming planet in exchange for it. Setting off fireworks might seem easy, but doing such a suspicious and eye-catching thing at the critical moment when Sen Luo was attacking the Divine Void Realm would very likely cause him to be captured and interrogated by Divine Void Realm experts. This matter was indeed risky, but Ning Fan was not afraid. He had the innate ghost face to conceal his identity. Even if his whereabouts are exposed and he is discovered, he still has a way to run away. Even if someone sees his ghost face, they would at most suspect that he was one of the 800 ghost faces of the Slaughter Palace. They would not be able to find out his true identity. Even though the ghost face was the symbol of the Slaughter Palace, it did not mean that cultivators who were not part of the Slaughter Palace could not produce or purchase ghost face spiritual equipment. The ghost face could not prove anything. No one would go to the Slaughter Palace to interrogate him just because he set off fireworks and wore a ghost face. The Slaughter Palace was not weaker than the Godly Void Pavilion. Ning Fan did not use his identity as a disciple of the Slaughter Palace to commit murder in public. Thus, this matter would certainly not implicate the Slaughter Palace. Do you really want to help Sun Luo Immortal King set off the fireworks? In this Eastern Ocean star region that is filled with war. Little Demoness' black eyes were deep and serene. No one knew what she was thinking about. Various incidents had really affected her a lot. Ning Fan nodded his head. His snow-white ghost face was ferocious and emotionless. His silver hair danced wildly in the starry sky. He had taken someone's money to eliminate disasters. Since he had obtained the Void Token, he would naturally complete the task of setting off the fireworks. This had nothing to do with his attitude toward Sun Luo. What do you think about Sun Luo Immortal King's character? Little Demoness' eyes were filled with confusion and she suddenly asked. She once harbored hatred toward Sun Luo. However, when she learned that the reason why he committed all kinds of crimes was to destroy the heaven-suppressing bell and save the person he loved, she was naturally deeply touched. It was because she was also just a sacrificial offering. Sun Luo's character is too cruel. He has a stubborn character and the things he has done are unpardonable. Even though he has a grateful heart, it is difficult for him to make up for his mistakes. He is too similar to me but also different. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. However, his mind was thinking about another matter. If Sun Luo did not destroy the heaven-suppressing bell, if the little Demoness was sacrificed to the bell one day, what would happen to him on that day? Moreover, there was another matter that Ning Fan was very concerned about. Previously, when he was hiding in the 9th star of Sun Luo, he entered the heaven world and approached the heaven-suppressing bell. At that moment, the Eastern Ocean bell in his storage pouch trembled slightly, as if it had some kind of special connection with the bell. Only when he left the heaven world did the trembling of the bell stop. The Eastern Ocean bell was left behind by the ancestral emperor of the Eastern Sky. From its appearance, one could tell that it was made from an imitation of the heaven-suppressing bell. The Eastern Ocean bell contained the prestige word formula and it had some kind of connection with the heaven-suppressing bell. Hee. I didn't expect to meet a friend from the Slaughter Palace here. My name is Lu Feng. May I know how to address you? Why did you come to my eastern country when my godly void pavilion is in a state of martial law? Could it be that you are in cahoots with that Sun Luo? Just as Ning Fan was in deep thought, a voice full of probing sounded from behind him. The owner of the voice was none other than the Plague King Lu Feng, who left with severe injuries just now. Lu Feng landed on the abandoned star. He narrowed his eyes dangerously and smiled. He walked towards Ning Fan step by step. His tone was full of probing. He was guessing if Ning Fan was a member of the Slaughter Palace. He was also guessing Ning Fan's cultivation base. Ning Fan was wearing the innate ghost mask which completely concealed his chi. Thus, Lu Feng could not see through Ning Fan at all. Previously, he only sensed the chi of the little Demoness on this star, but he did not sense that there was another Ning Fan here. Currently, Ning Fan was wearing the innate ghost mask. His chi was almost completely concealed. Within a short period of time, Lu Feng released his spirit sense a total of 12 times in an attempt to find out Ning Fan's cultivation base. However, due to the concealment of the innate ghost mask, he actually could not see through Ning Fan's cultivation base even once. This ghost mask spiritual equipment is really impressive. Could it be an innate spiritual equipment? I have never heard of anyone in the Slaughter Palace possessing such a powerful ghost mask. This person is at least an ancient monster. Otherwise, how could he possess such a powerful spiritual equipment? Who exactly is this person and what is his cultivation base? Why is he staying together with the young pavilion master of my godly void pavilion? After I was injured by Sun Luo, I divined another divination. I divined that I would be able to meet a benefactor who could help me suppress my injuries and even obtain the hope of reconstructing my cultivation base. Could it be this person? Lu Feng's eyes were filled with fear. Suddenly, his expression changed. At this moment, he sensed something from Ning Fan's body. He was not sure whether Ning Fan was his benefactor before this. Now, however, he was somewhat certain. It was because Lu Feng sensed the qi of an extremely familiar token from Ning Fan's body. This is, the qi of the Gu token. How could this be? Could this person be a member of one of the 10 great secret clans, the Southern Clan? The Southern tribe has 4 divisions, Gu, Plague, Shaman, and Barbarian. Since this person possesses the Gu command, could it be that he's a member of the Gu division? I can't be wrong. My Plague token has sent a response. 60 million years have passed since this old man was expelled from the Southern tribe. Finally, someone from the Southern tribe has come to see this old man. Lu Feng was naturally overjoyed. How could he not be overjoyed? No one knew that when he was young, he used to be a cultivator of the Plague division of the Southern tribe. Because he made a huge mistake and offended the Southern tribe's ancestor, he was banished from the tribe. After that, he painstakingly cultivated and experienced life and death. Finally, he succeeded in his cultivation step by step and finally joined the Godly Void Pavilion. For the Southern tribe to send someone here, it was most likely that they had plans to bring him back into their tribe. If he could return to the Southern tribe, not only would he be able to reconstruct his cultivation, he would even be able to become a martial emperor. If Ning Fan is really a member of the Southern clan, it was certainly impossible for him to be a cultivator of the Slaughter Palace. It was also impossible for him to be related to Sun Luo. As for why Ning Fan was together with the little demoness, it was not something that Lu Feng cared about. Before Ning Fan could answer Lu Feng's first question, Lu Feng had already calmed himself down. He cupped his fists at Ning Fan and gave him a flattering smile. His previous hostility and speculations towards Ning Fan had already been thrown to the back of his mind. I didn't expect fellow Taoist to be a member of the Southern tribe. I hope fellow Taoist can forgive me if I have been rude to you in the past. May I know which sovereign lord of the Plague division are you serving? At this moment, Ning Fan's face was as calm as still water. No one could see his expression through the ghost mask. He had never thought that he would meet the immortal King Lu Feng of the Godly Void Pavilion on this abandoned star. Moreover, it was such an inopportune moment. Furthermore, L.V. Feng's words baffled him even more. What is the Southern tribe? What is the Plague division? Seeing that Ning Fan did not say a word, Lu Feng only thought that he had a cold and indifferent personality. Thus, he did not mind it at all. He rubbed his hands and said with a smile. It's my fault for being rude. I have already been expelled from the Southern tribe. Asking fellow Taoist these questions at this moment is a little out of line. If fellow Taoist is unwilling to tell me, I will not force you. However, I still hope to see fellow Taoist's Gu token with my own eyes in order to confirm your identity. He. I wonder if fellow Taoist can. What he meant was that he had to see Ning Fan's Gu token. Ning Fan's eyes flickered slightly but he still did not say anything. Lu Feng's expression instantly turned cold and he said with grief and indignation. Humph. I didn't expect that you aren't here to accept me back into your tribe but to kill me. If that's the case, do it. Your Southern tribe is powerful but I am not someone who will bow down and wait for death. This old man will fight it out with you. Chapter 790. He could not help but feel sad and indignant. In fact, Ning Fan's unwillingness to show the token to L.V. Feng was considered as a signal to the Southern clan. It was a signal to declare war. If the old ancestor of the Southern clan sends an envoy to look for a sinner of the clan, there would usually be 2 reasons. Either it was because the clan lacked manpower and decided to accept some exiled sinners back into the clan and integrate them into the 4 divisions, or it was because they felt that the sinner's sins were too heavy and they did not want to spare his life and wanted to eliminate him. Normally, if the envoy came to kill someone, he would not show the token to the sinner. This was the rule of the Southern clan. LV Feng firmly believed that Ning Fan was the envoy of the Southern clan. When he saw Ning Fan's cold attitude and his unwillingness to show the token, he naturally believed that Ning Fan was here to kill him. His expression was filled with grief and indignation. One should know that he had been banished by the Southern clan for 60 million years. For the past 60 million years, he had been waiting for the envoy of the Southern clan to appear and bring him back to the clan. Now that the envoy had finally come, the envoy actually came to kill him. How could he not feel aggrieved and indignant? What kind of unforgivable crime had he committed? Why did the old ancestor of the Southern clan still want to kill him even after 60 million years? Nan Tianhua. Nan Tianhua, you're really something. You're the ancestor of the Gu tribe. You're bullying the weak. You didn't keep your word. In the past, I just lost control of my magic technique and killed a few of your innate spiritual herbs. Then, you ruthlessly banished me from the clan. 60 million years have passed but you still refuse to let me go. You even sent someone to kill me. You've gone too far. You've gone too far. LV Feng cursed while gnashing his teeth. At the same time, he waved his hand and a bright yellow pear-wood sword with a pear fragrance appeared in his palm. He glared at Ning Fan angrily. Beneath his anger, there was also deep fear. He could not see through Ning Fan's cultivation base but he firmly believed that Ning Fan's strength was terrifying. Even though Ning Fan's cultivation base was not as strong as LV Feng's, he had seen too many grand occasions. Thus, he remained calm and composed while facing LV Feng. The calmer Ning Fan was, the more LV Feng felt that he was fearless. LV Feng held the bright yellow pear-wood sword in his hand. He wanted to summon his courage to fight Ning Fan but he did not dare to. His hand was trembling. He couldn't sense Ning Fan's chi, so how could he know that Ning Fan was just a ghost profound junior? The hand in Ning Fan's sleeve quietly pressed on the jade slip. He took a small step forward, slightly shielding the little demoness behind him. He exchanged glances with the little demon girl and asked about the Southern tribe and the Gu division through telepathy. The little demon girl shook her head slightly. It was obvious that she did not know what these two terms meant. His heart sank. When he sensed a certain item in the storage pouch trembled slightly, Ning Fan suddenly had a guess. Seeing Ning Fan taking a step forward, Lu Feng's heart skipped a beat. He thought that Ning Fan was going to attack him. Instinctively, he took half a step back, weakening his aura. After imagining the battle with Ning Fan thousands of times, he only felt that he had zero chance of winning. He was already afraid before the battle even started. He wanted to escape, but he knew that according to the rules of the Southern clan, if he escaped, he would definitely be hunted down by more people. Eventually, he wouldn't be able to escape death, he could only go all out. Seeing that a great battle was about to erupt, Ning Fan's eyes turned cold and he made up his mind. With a flip of his hand, he took out a token that was as translucent as jade. This token was the treasure he had obtained in the Star Ocean back then, the Poison King's token. This token had the ability to cure poison. It had once helped Yuan Yao to cure her poison. The power of this token was not strong. To Ning Fan, it was already useless. However, at this moment, Ning Fan took it out without any hesitation. The token was trembling slightly in his storage pouch. Perhaps it was the Poison King's token that Lu Feng wanted to see. At this moment, the token was glowing faintly. That light slowly condensed into two words on the surface of the token. It was Zhao Jian. Presumably, the previous owner of this token was called Zhao Jian. If it wasn't because Ning Fan met Lu Feng and their tokens could sense each other, these two words would never appear. Ning Fan glanced at the token in his hand. Then, he shifted his gaze to Lu Feng and said coldly, "I'm not here to kill you." Ning Fan certainly did not know what kind of clan the Southern clan was and what kind of clan the Gu clan was. He also did not know why Lu Feng would turn hostile so quickly. Perhaps, this token was the Poison King's token that Lu Feng mentioned. Perhaps, it wasn't, perhaps, taking out this token could calm Lu Feng's anger. Perhaps, it couldn't, even though Ning Fan had the jade slip that Sha Di gave him to protect himself, it was really a little inappropriate to use the jade slip to fight against Lu Feng in the territory of the Godly Void Pavilion. Since Lu Feng wanted to see this token, Ning Fan would let him see it. Lu Feng seemed to have misunderstood that he was an enemy. Thus, Ning Fan also explained that he was not here to kill him. If doing these things still could not calm Lu Feng's inexplicable anger and killing intent, Ning Fan could only find another way to deal with it. All in all, Ning Fan was not willing to fight Lu Feng to the death in the territory of the Godly Void Pavilion. If it really does not work, Ning Fan could only bring little demoness and flee while concealing himself. Ning Fan's eyes became calmer. Facing Lu Feng, who could attack him at any time, he actually did not have much fear. He had seen his fair share of great storms and waves. Even though Lu Feng was evil, he could not scare him. He stood in front of little demoness like a mountain, giving her an incomparably strong sense of security. Because of Lu Feng's sudden appearance and killing intent, little demoness was originally worried about Ning Fan. However, after seeing Ning Fan's expression, she could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Little Fan Fan does not seem to be afraid of Lu Feng. It must be because he has a way to deal with him. Speaking of which, Little Fan Fan is really calm. He is only a profound ghost cultivator, but even when facing Sun Luo and Lu Feng, he could still remain calm. I wonder how he will deal with Lu Feng. The corner of little demoness' mouth rose. She quietly looked at Ning Fan's broad back. No one knew what she was thinking. Seeing that Ning Fan took out the Gu token and claimed that he was not here to kill him, Lu Feng was startled at first, then he said with great joy. Is this true? Fellow Taoist is really not here to kill me? No. Ning Fan answered. Then, is fellow Taoist following the old ancestors' order to bring me back to the Southern Clan? Lu Feng's tone was excited and his eyes were filled with hope. Ning Fan was silent for a while and said. No. He did not follow Lu Feng's words and admit that he was here to bring Lu Feng back to the clan. At this moment, even though Ning Fan did not know what the Southern Clan was, he could guess that it must be an extremely terrifying force. How could this Southern Clan be weak if it could make an immortal king look forward to returning to the clan? It was even possible that the Southern Clan was one of the 10 great secret clans in the legends. This Gu King token is most likely the token of the Southern Clan. This Lu Feng probably misunderstood my intention because I have the token. If I pretend to be a member of the Southern Clan, I will most likely incur the wrath of the Southern Clan. I'm not a cultivator of the Southern Clan, but I have the token of the Southern Clan. If this matter is spread out, it won't be appropriate. I'm afraid that some people will suspect that I killed a cultivator of the Southern Clan to obtain this token. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. He had made up his mind. The only thing he could do was to not admit that he was a member of the Southern Clan but also not deny it. He would let Lu Feng speculate on his own and observe the situation quietly. As soon as he heard Ning Fan's words, Lu Feng could not help but feel disappointed. Of course, he did not expect that Ning Fan was not here to kill him nor to bring him back to the clan. In other words, Ning Fan was not here to look for him at all. It was his own misunderstanding. Fellow Taoist, are you really not here to bring me back to the clan? Lu Feng asked with disappointment. No. Ning Fan's tone was indifferent. He purposely knitted his brows and his eyes turned slightly cold. He was sure that Lu Feng could not see through his cultivation base and probably thought that he was the 10,000 ancient monster. Thus, he decided to play the role of the 10,000 ancient monster according to Lu Feng's speculation. His every word and action was very similar to the cold and emotionless Sun Luo. Sigh. So fellow Taoist is just passing by and not here to look for me. Fellow Taoist's Gu token. Lu Feng let out a long sigh and shook his head. Suddenly, he looked at the Gu King token in Ning Fan's hand. What he saw caused him to be greatly shocked. Previously, he did not look at the token in detail. Now that he looked at it, he realized that Ning Fan's token was a little strange. Ning Fan's Gu King token was indeed an authentic one. However, its appearance was slightly different from ordinary tokens. Such tokens were usually owned by cultivators who were carrying out special missions in the Southern Clan. I see. Fellow Daoist is actually here to carry out a special mission. Lu Feng exclaimed in surprise. Then, he immediately realized that he had made a slip of the tongue. There were not only him and Ning Fan in this place. There was also the little demoness who was an outsider. There were some things that he could not say. Since Ning Fan was here to carry out a special mission, this matter was naturally of great importance and must be kept confidential. Since Ning Fan appeared in the Eastern Sea Star region, perhaps this mission was related to the Godly Void Pavilion. Could it be that the old ancestor of the clan is scheming against the Godly Void Pavilion? That's why he sent someone here. If that's the case. As he thought of this, Lu Feng's eyes turned cold. His killing intent was revealed as he looked at the little demoness behind Ning Fan and said apologetically. I'm sorry. I lost my composure for a moment and said the wrong thing. I will help fellow Daoist eliminate this trouble and kill this woman. As he finished speaking, Lu Feng turned the tip of his sword and aimed it at the little demoness. It was as if he was going to kill her in the next moment. There's no need to kill her. This woman is useful to me. Ning Fan's eyes changed and he immediately stopped him. This sentence was a disguised form of admitting that he was here to carry out a mission. How could he watch Lu Feng kill the little demoness without doing anything? The little demoness was not afraid of Lu Feng. She looked at Ning Fan with a faint smile and felt that it was interesting. Seeing Ning Fan pretending to be a cultivator of the Southern Clan to protect her made her mood even better. Lu Feng was startled. He kept the pear-wood sword and let out a few dry coughs. Then, he smiled awkwardly at Ning Fan. Since this woman is useful to fellow Daoist, I naturally won't dare to attack her. Fellow Daoist's name is Zhao Jian. Could it be that you're the descendant of the Zhao clan's monarch of the Gu department? Ning Fan remained silent and did not answer. Lu Feng, on the other hand, looked at Ning Fan as if he had understood something and said with a chuckle. Look at my mouth. I'm talking too much again. I wonder if fellow Daoist Zhao needs my help on this trip. If you do, just tell me. I will certainly not decline. Of course, when fellow Daoist returns to the clan in the future, please put in a few good words for me in front of the old ancestors and see when they will accept me back to the Southern Clan. No matter what, I'm now an immortal king. Returning to the clan will also be beneficial to our clan. No need. If fellow Daoist Lu has nothing else, can you leave first? I still have something important to do here. Ning Fan said with a frown. Alright. Since fellow Daoist Zhao still has something to do, I won't disturb you any longer. If fellow Daoist Zhao needs my help, you can come and find me directly. I'm an elder of the Godly Void Pavilion after all. I can at least provide you with some help. Hee. This is just a small gift to show my respect. Please accept it. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Feng took out an exquisite storage pouch and passed it to Ning Fan with both hands. Then, he cupped his fists and left in a ray of light. He was still busy looking for a place to stabilize his injuries. Leaving was also what he wanted. Only when Lu Feng's ray of light disappeared did Ning Fan put away his expression. He scanned the storage pouch with his spirit sense and found out that there were 100 billion Dao crystals inside. Well, it was not a small gift. From the beginning to the end, Lu Feng never doubted Ning Fan's identity because no cultivator of the Southern Clan had lost their token in the past 4 days. However, Lu Feng did not know that Ning Fan's token was found in the lower world. It was left behind by a cultivator of the southern clan who went out to carry out a mission, after keeping the 100 billion Dao crystals and keeping the Gu King's token in his yin-yang world. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. Then, he held the little demoness' slender waist and flew towards eastern Ming planet at a moderate pace. The news of Sen Luo's arrival had already spread across the entire eastern Ming planet. Currently, there were almost no cultivators flying in the starry sky in the eastern Ming planet. The Void Fragmentation Realm and Immortal Realm cultivators of various forces were all in seclusion on their respective cultivation planets. They did not want to get involved in any trouble. On the other hand, there were many cultivators who wanted to take advantage of the battle and secretly flew in the starry sky. Occasionally, they would cross paths with Ning Fan's ray of light. However, they just glanced at each other without saying a word. Those cultivators who released their spirit sense to sense Ning Fan became extremely fearful when they realized how powerful his ghost face was. Some of the cultivators who saw Ning Fan traveling with the little demoness, the young pavilion lord of the godly void realm, were slightly startled. However, they did not meddle in their business. The little demoness nestled in Ning Fan's arms. Her slightly depressed mood had already become relaxed because of LV Feng's matter. She looked at Ning Fan with a smile and suddenly said, "If I'm not mistaken, the Southern Clan is probably one of the 10 great secret clans. That LV Feng was willing to betray the godly Void Pavilion for the Southern Clan. He actually dared to kill me in broad daylight. I'm afraid the only force that could make him do such a thing is the 10 great secret clans which are even more powerful than the godly Void Pavilion. Little Fan Fan, that LV Feng has already regarded you as a cultivator of the Southern Clan. Why don't you take the opportunity to extort him? If you ask him, I'm sure he will also give you his storage pouch with both hands." Ning Fan shook his head and said, "Going too far is as bad as not going far enough." Without further explanation, Ning Fan flew all the way to a certain place in the starry sky near eastern Ming planet. He put down the little demoness and stood side by side with her. There were a few cultivators who were hiding in this place. Most of them were here to take advantage of the situation in the battlefield. Most of them were not Divine Void Realm cultivators. The battle between Sen Luo and the Divine Void Realm might bring them some opportunities. Among these cultivators who were hiding in the dark, many of them were at the Life Immortal Realm or True Immortal Realm. Occasionally, there would be a few extremely powerful spirit scents that came out of nowhere and swept towards Ning Fan. When they realized that they could not sense his exact cultivation base, they were frightened by the power of his innate ghost mask. All of them withdrew their spirit sense and did not probe further, afraid that they would anger Ning Fan. Previously, when Ning Fan was staying in Sen Luo's 9th star, he could not accurately sense the cultivators who were hiding in the outside world. Now, however, he could. There are many old monsters hiding in this place. Little Fan Fan, you are traveling with me and you are wearing a ghost mask. Won't you attract too much attention by setting off fireworks in this place? Speaking of which, what level is your ghost mask exactly? It seems like even LV Feng could not see your true appearance. Such a powerful ghost mask is not something an ordinary ghost mask assassin of the Slaughter Palace can possess. The little demoness asked with a smile. Ning Fan smiled and did not answer her question. Instead, he scanned the void star beside eastern Ming planet with his spirit sense and waited quietly. Sen Luo had invited him to set off fireworks. Of course, the fireworks needed to be seen by others. Sen Luo had yet to bring his beloved woman out. Naturally, it was not the time for the fireworks to be set off yet. Little Fan Fan, call me Ci from now on. In my memory, my mother used to call me that before she passed away. The little demoness was still smiling. However, there was a hint of nostalgia in her smile. In the past, she would not ask Ning Fan to call her that. Today, however, some things were different. All right. I will call you Ci from now on. Ning Fan nodded and stood in the starry sky with his hands clasped behind his back. He did not reveal any of his chi, but anyone who tried to peek at him would not dare to underestimate him. He already had the temperament of a natural grandmaster. Could this person be one of the 800 ghost masks of the Slaughter Palace? However, I never knew that there is someone in the Slaughter Palace who has such a powerful ghost mask. In the starry sky, an old monster who was hiding said in surprise. Innate ghost mask. This person must be an ancient monster. Otherwise, how could he have such a powerful ghost mask? An old monster who was half a step into the ancient realm who was hiding in the starry sky scanned Ning Fan with his spirit sense. The more powerful the old monster was, the more they could see the power of the innate ghost mask and the more they would be afraid of Ning Fan. Because they could not see through him, they were afraid of him. Because they were ignorant, they were terrifying. This was the first time Ning Fan appeared in front of the cultivators of the Eastern Heaven in the form of a silver-haired ghost mask. However, it was definitely not the last time. Rumble. 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 After an unknown period of time, a series of earth-shattering explosions came from the giant gate on the Void Star. At the next moment, the giant gate was shattered. A gigantic golden bell that was as large as a star slowly appeared in the starry sky. Under the gigantic bell stood a man. He held the bell with one hand and stood proudly. His red hair fluttered in the wind. It was Sen Luo. At the moment, 12 heaven-piercing arrows that had exhausted their spiritual power were hovering around Sen Luo's body. There was a treasure hanging above his head. It was the Devil Conferral Board. Its spiritual power had been completely destroyed. His body was covered with cuts and bruises. Blood flowed continuously, but his eyes were filled with satisfaction. The heaven-suppressing bell was covered with cracks that were as thin as spider webs. They were all caused by Sen Luo. There are already cracks on this bell. I will continue to attack it. When the time is right, you will be responsible for setting off the fireworks. Sen Luo's lips moved. No one knew who he was talking to. In the next moment, he threw the giant bell high up into the sky. Under the gazes of countless cultivators on East Ocean Star, Divine Space Star and Void Star, he punched the heaven-suppressing bell repeatedly. Beside him, the destruction beast's eyes were filled with anxiety. There were many injuries on its body which seemed to be caused by the previous battle. The cracks on the heaven-suppressing bell increased bit by bit. Sen Luo's injuries were also getting worse. The sound of the bell resounded across the entire star region, shocking everyone. Those who had good eyesight could see that Sen Luo was going to sacrifice his life to destroy the heaven-suppressing bell. He was a madman. Stop! Sen Luo! A broken black hole suddenly appeared in the void space. 2 God Void Emperors leaped out of the black hole and roared at Sen Luo angrily. They had finally escaped, but it seemed like it was already too late. The heaven-suppressing bell had already been damaged by Sen Luo. There are many who want to stop me. However, can any of you stop me? Sen Luo roared at the sky. With this roar, a blood-colored sound wave spread through the stars. Countless old monsters hiding here were forced out of their hiding places. Among them were life immortals and true immortals who had come to pick up scraps. There were also 7 old monsters covered in 7-colored light. All of them were celestial emperors. Aside from the divine void emperors, there were also 7 eastern sky celestial emperors. They had come with ill intentions. Some of them had a grudge against Sen Luo while others had come to watch the show. Sen Luo. I won't ask what grudge you have with the Divine Void Pavilion, but you must return the Thunder King seal you stole from my 3000 Thunder World. A silver-haired beautiful woman with lightning wings shrouded in colorful light walked towards Sen Luo and Heaven Suppression Bell step by step after saying faintly. This person was the master of the 3000 Thunder World of the Eastern Sky. This generation's White Emperor had the cultivation of the 7th Eternal Tribulation. Her name was Lan Yunxian. Sen Luo. You killed this old man's beloved disciple back then. Today, this old man will settle things with you. Then, a giant emperor with 3 heads and 8 arms roared as he walked toward Sen Luo. He was filled with killing intent. His name was Yellow Turban Great Emperor. He was one of the Eastern Sky's 16 emperors. He had the cultivation of the 6th eternal tribulation. With the strength of his body, he was almost invincible among the 6 tribulations. This old man has some friendship with the 9th underworld emperor. He died at your hands, so this old man has to get justice for him no matter what. Another 3-eyed great emperor snorted coldly and flew out on his cloud. He said he was here to get justice for the 9th underworld emperor. However, there wasn't much sadness in his eyes. It was obvious that taking revenge for the 9th underworld emperor was just an excuse. This person had the cultivation of the 6th eternal tribulation. His name was Great Emperor Maha. Besides these 3 celestial emperors, there were 4 other celestial emperors. They were silent and surrounded Sen Luo. Including the divine void emperors, there were a total of 9 celestial emperors surrounding Sen Luo. Sen Luo's red hair fluttered in the wind. He faced the 9 celestial emperors alone without fear. Good, good, good. The 3rd person I want to kill is also here. Since that is the case, then all of you can attack together. I have nothing to fear. The 6 apertures ancient god's power of time was completely activated by Sen Luo at this moment. An aura stronger than the combined aura of the 9 celestial emperors appeared behind Sen Luo. At this moment, Sen Luo had the Genesis Saint Ring formed by the power of time from the 6 apertures. He was stronger than ever. The expressions of the 9 martial monarchs changed drastically at that instant. Before anyone could react, Sen Luo's figure had already faded. The expression of one of the celestial emperors changed greatly. A cultivation planet under his feet suddenly exploded and a giant, blood-colored hand appeared out of nowhere. It only had 4 fingers, but it was powerful enough to tear the sky and reach toward him. Even with his cultivation of the 7th eternal tribulation, he couldn't move for a moment. Hongzhe, you are the 3rd person I must kill. Spit out the primordial spirit wine that you drank. Chapter 791. This roar contained all of Sen Luo's demonic thoughts, and with the support of the Genesis Saint Ring, it contained great power. The Hongzhe Emperor was about to defend himself when he heard Sen Luo's roar. He immediately felt pain in his sea of consciousness, and his magic power stagnated, causing him to fall down. The giant hand that had suddenly attacked from below immediately doubled in size under the Senra demon's roar. The giant hand was covered in blood mist, and the snake coiled around it, hissing as it flicked its tongue. The 4 fingers of the giant hand streaked across the starry sky, leaving behind traces of blood trails. Those trails were Tao trajectories. Those blood-colored lines were the lines of Tao laws. The expressions of the 8 celestial emperors, including the divine void emperor and celestial emperor, changed greatly. Some were shocked speechless, and some immediately tried to save the Hongzhe emperor. At this moment, a black hole surrounded by blood light appeared under the feet of each of the 8 emperors. The moment it appeared, the 8 emperors immediately fell into the black hole. These 8 black holes were all miniature versions of the galaxy burial technique. With Sen Luo using his full power, it was impossible to defend against. The moment the 8 celestial emperors were trapped in the black hole, the Hongzhe emperor let out a miserable scream. His body was torn to pieces by the blood hand, and only his origin soul escaped with his storage bag. The blood hand dissipated, and Sen Luo appeared. He coldly looked at the Hongzhe emperor's terrified origin soul, and a cold smile appeared on his face. Sen Luo pointed at him, and the Genesis Saint Ring flashed. The Hongzhe emperor's origin soul was locked in place by Sen Luo, unable to escape. Sen Luo waved his hand, and the Hongzhe emperor's origin soul fell helplessly into Sen Luo's hand. Shock immediately appeared in the hearts of all the cultivators here. Whether it was the cultivators here who were picking up scraps or the experts of the Divine Void Pavilion on planet East Ocean, everyone was shocked and afraid. Who would have thought that Sanluo would be this strong? He could instantly trap 8 celestial emperors and take the opportunity to seriously injure and capture a 7 tribulation celestial emperor. Not good. Once we are trapped, the Hongzhe emperor will definitely be in trouble. We must attack together and shatter this black hole as fast as possible to save Hongzhe. Emperor Shinkong's expression was extremely ugly as he spoke to the other celestial emperors trapped within the black hole. Then, he immediately attacked the black hole barrier with the other celestial emperors. This was the 3rd time he had been trapped by Sanluo. This time, he had been on guard against Sanluo at all times, but he was still trapped within the black hole, causing him to feel even more humiliated. He had thought that Senro was already in his strongest form when he summoned the primitive holiness ring. Only now did he realize that Senro could be even stronger. They both summoned the primordial saint ring, but this time, the aura of the primordial saint ring was more than twice as strong as the last time. With the increase in strength, the power of the divine ability would naturally increase. Even though Shinkong Di was prepared, he was still unable to escape from the entrapment of this technique, but so what? This time, the 16 emperors of the eastern sky have dispatched a total of 9 people. No matter how strong Sanluo is, how can he be a match for us? He will undoubtedly die. I believe that Sanluo won't be able to cause too much damage to Hongzhe Emperor during the short period of time that we are trapped here. Shen Space Emperor thought. The 8 emperors attacked at the same time and immediately created a crack in the black hole of Endless Forest, allowing them to escape. As soon as they returned to the outside world, they immediately saw the scene of Sanluo capturing the primordial spirit of Great Emperor Hongzhe with his palm. Naturally, everyone was shocked. How is this possible? We were only trapped by the black hole for a few breaths, but Sanluo actually destroyed Great Emperor Hongzhe's physical body and captured his primordial spirit in just a few breaths. How is this possible? Among the 8 emperors, a valiant-looking old man in a scholar's robe said in shock. This was Great Emperor Han Yun, who had the cultivation of the 6th eternal tribulation. Sanluo is very strong. As long as this ring isn't destroyed, his strength is stronger than the 9 tribulations and weaker than the saints. Among the 8 emperors, a handsome young man in green clothes said with a frown. There was a cinnabar dot between his eyebrows that was flashing with a strange light. This person was called Emperor Tsang. Although he had the body of a young man, he was actually an old monster who was even older than the Divine Void Emperor and had the cultivation of the 8th eternal tribulation. Sanluo. Release Hongzhe quickly. You have already killed the 9 Nether Emperor. If you kill Hongzhe as well, the strength of my Eastern Heaven immortal world will be greatly damaged. You must not do this. Give this old man some face and release Hongzhe. Let's talk this out. Among the 8 emperors, a grey-robed old man wearing a conical bamboo hat said nervously. This was Great Emperor Chonghe, who had the cultivation of the 6th eternal tribulation. Great Emperor Chonghe's cultivation wasn't the highest among all the emperors, but he was the oldest. His bone age was even older than Emperor Tsang. To him, all the emperors of Eastern Heaven were his juniors. His words carried a lot of weight. If he spoke, ordinary immortal emperors would give him some face. Unfortunately, he was facing Sanluo. Who was Sanluo? Why would he give him face? Sanluo snorted coldly. The power of the Saint Genesis ring behind him suddenly decreased by a quarter. A quarter of the power of the Saint Genesis ring was gathered in Sanluo's palm and he clenched it hard. In order to kill an immortal emperor of the 7th eternal tribulation, Sanluo had used a quarter of the power of the quicksand in one go. At this moment, if he released all the power in his clenched fist, it was enough to destroy half of Eastern Sea. This power was completely condensed in his palm. Not even half of it flowed out. It was all pressed down on Hongzhe Emperor's primordial spirit. Hongzhi Emperor's primordial spirit, which was captured by Sun Luo, didn't even have time to beg for mercy before it was crushed into countless primordial spirit fragments. Like stars, they scattered in the starry sky. His primordial spirit, his remnant thoughts, and his remnant Tao were all destroyed under Sun Luo's clenched fist. Not a single drop remained. Even an immortal emperor couldn't escape reincarnation. Around the primordial spirit fragments, there were many magic treasure fragments floating in the air. They were the magic treasures in Hongzhi Emperor's storage bag. His storage bag was also crushed by Sun Luo's palm, and all the secret treasures turned into fragments. The moment the Hongzhi heavenly sovereign fell, a heaven-destroying, earth-shattering baleful aura swept across the entire starry sky. Sun Luo stood in the center of the blood flame. His palm was still dripping with golden emperor blood. That blood belonged to Hongzhi Emperor who had just fallen. Sun Luo knew that when he killed Hongzhi Emperor, he won by using the power of reincarnation and launching a sneak attack. When he faced the other 8 emperors in the future, he wouldn't be able to waste the power of reincarnation anymore, and he wouldn't be able to launch a sneak attack anymore. If he wanted to win against the 8 emperors alone, he would most likely have to risk his life. Especially when the cultivators of the 4 main sects had already arrived. The situation was even more disadvantageous to him. When Great Emperor Chonghe saw that Sun Luo still killed Hongzhi Emperor despite his persuasion, his face immediately turned red. He felt that he had lost a lot of face. Just as he was about to rebuke Sun Luo, his expression suddenly changed. Great Emperor Chonghe was extremely experienced. He was also the best in sensing. After Sun Luo, he was the first among the 8 emperors to notice the change. Even though the other Eastern Heaven Immortal Emperors were slower than Great Emperor Chonghe, they also noticed the change. In the boundless starry sky, a square-shaped golden sea of light suddenly appeared. At the center of the sea of light, millions of cultivators suddenly emerged. The lowest cultivation base was at the void fragmentation realm, while the highest cultivation base was at the eternal ancient realm. All of them wore white robes with purple gold epiphyllum insignia sewn on them. After most of the cultivators appeared, they immediately flew towards the entire Eastern God battlefield. At the 4 corners of the Sea of Light, 4 giant coffins appeared. They were golden and over 1,000,000 feet tall. In these 4 giant coffins it also had the epiphyllum emblem. The 1,000,000 cultivators that appeared out of the Sea of Light was led by an old man surrounded by green lightning. He was the immortal king of the eternal 5th tribulation. This person stood in front of the group of cultivators. His expression was wild and untamed, and his gaze swept over Sun Luo and the eastern sky's 8 emperors below the Sea of Light. His expression didn't change, and he was still full of arrogance. But when this person looked at the 4 giant coffins, he instantly revealed an extremely respectful expression. He bowed to the 4 coffins and said in a clear voice, "The 28 Thunder Division's battle cultivators have already gathered in the eastern sky. For ancient emperors, please give the order." After this person finished speaking, he still didn't dare to straighten up. He maintained the posture of cupping his fists and lowered his head, as if waiting for the giant coffin to reply to him. While they were waiting, neither the Sun Luo nor the 8 emperors continued to attack. They were also waiting for the giant coffin to speak. Not long after, a hoarse and aged voice sounded from the giant coffin, ordering, "The heaven suppression bell is the treasure of East suppressing heaven, it cannot be destroyed. Sun Luo has already killed 2 emperors, and this devil is too strong. This old man and the other 4 constellations will personally attack and capture this devil. You all form a formation outside and protect the East Sky cultivators." Yes. Once he received the order from the expert in the coffin, the old man with green lightning immediately led the remaining cultivators to scatter in all directions. Then, the old man with green lightning took out a command flag and waved it in the air. The square golden sea of light immediately crazily spread, covering the area where the Sun Luo and the eastern sky's 8 emperors were. Above the sea of light, a light wall rose, and the top instantly closed. Sun Luo, the 4 giant coffins, the 8 eastern sky immortal emperors, the heaven suppression bell, and the destruction beast were all surrounded by the light wall. The outside world couldn't clearly see what was happening inside. On East Sea Star, Divine Space Star, and Void Star, more and more divine void cultivators escaped into the starry sky. Many of the cultivators' eyes were filled with disbelief. The 4 Phoenixes sect had never interfered in the eastern sky's affairs, but now they had sent out 4 ancient constellation emperors to help the eastern sky. This action was truly inconceivable. The ancient constellation emperors, the lowest cultivation level was an immortal emperor. With these 4 people joining the battle, it would be difficult for the Senluo to escape defeat no matter how strong he was. The 1 million cultivators from the 4 Phoenixes sect dispersed into the starry sky. The starry sky that was initially empty was now densely packed with human figures. Ning Fan and the little demoness stood on the starry sky. They were no longer as eye-catching as before. Each of the white-robed cultivators stood guard outside the Sea of Light, as if they were sealing the battlefield, not allowing the divine void cultivators and other cultivators to intervene. Ning Fan's mind raced. It was his first time seeing the cultivators of the 4 Phoenixes sect coming to the eastern sky on a large scale. Moreover, their purpose was not to seek justice for the 2 fallen immortal emperors but to protect the Heaven Suppression Bell, the treasure of the Eastern Heaven immortal world. What is the significance of this item? It actually made the 4 Phoenixes sect, the ruler of the 4 heavens, attach so much importance to it, are the ones hiding in the 4 giant coffins 4 of the 28 great emperors of the 4 Phoenixes sect. I can vaguely sense the chi of 4 great emperors from the 4 giant coffins. 2 of them are on par with the divine void emperor duo. They should also be 8 tribulation great emperors. The chi of the other 2, however, are much stronger than the divine void emperor duo. They should be the 9 tribulation great emperors. Looks like Senluo is in trouble. Under the ghost mask, Ning Fan's eyes were suddenly filled with a hint of confusion. At this moment, Ning Fan suddenly realized that when Senluo was in trouble and might be in danger, he actually felt a little sorry for him. It had nothing to do with good or evil. It was just a feeling that arose spontaneously. Perhaps, he was touched by Senluo's obsession. Unfortunately, Ning Fan's words carried little weight. He could not help Senluo in any way. The only thing he could do was to set off the fireworks. The cultivators of the 4 Phoenixes sect stood guard outside the Sea of Light. They chased all the cultivators 1 million li away from the Sea of Light and ordered everyone to stay away from the battlefield. Near Ning Fan, there was also a little girl in snow-white robes who was chasing the cultivators away. She seemed to be around 11 or 12 years old. One of her hands was holding a black gold longsword which was placed horizontally in front of her chest. She looked rather comical. Her other hand was holding a piece of piping hot 8 treasures cake which she was eating with great relish. Step back. Everyone, step back. No one is allowed to get close to the Sea of Light. Otherwise, don't blame me if you get hurt or die. Even the Imperial Monarch can't blame me for this. Oh my, it's so hot. The little girl in white robes was following behind a few cultivators of the 4 Phoenixes sect indifferently. She was shouting at the cultivators to stay away from the battlefield with a clear and melodious voice. All of a sudden, the little girl in white robes seemed to have sensed something. Her eyes suddenly turned towards Ning Fan's direction. Her early truth-crossing realm spirit sense swept towards Ning Fan like a tidal wave. After checking Ning Fan, the little girl withdrew her spirit sense. Her brows were slightly knitted together and she pouted her lips. Strange. Is it an illusion? I thought I saw that hateful Ning Fan here. Pfft. That Ning Fan is probably still at the void fragmentation realm now. He is staying in the rain world to cultivate diligently. Sure enough, I am still too sensitive. Why would I think that he is here? The little girl in white robes shook her head disapprovingly. She took a bite of the 8 treasures cake and continued to move in another direction to guard the sea of light. Ning Fan's expression changed slightly. Obviously, he had recognized the identity of the little girl in white robes. However, what Ning Fan did not expect was that the little girl had an overly strong Fu Li Qi. Even though it was sealed by someone, how could it hide from Ning Fan, who was the old ancestor of the Fu Li sect? It's her. That little girl of the heavenly Tao. Why is she here? Why is she one of the old monsters of the Four Profound sect, Duzhen? Ning Fan thought to himself. Who is it? Who is calling me a little girl of the heavenly Tao? Don't you know? I have secretly learned the imperial monarch's heart-questioning divine ability. Within 10 li, as long as someone thinks about something related to me, I will be able to hear it. Humph. I hate it when someone calls me a little girl the most. Besides, I haven't been a Tao spirit for many years. The little girl in white robes suddenly heard a voice and stopped in her tracks. Her clear eyes swept across the little demoness beside Ning Fan. However, she did not stop and continued to move towards Ning Fan. In the end, she glared at Ning Fan with dissatisfaction. Are you the one who called me a little girl? Take off your mask and let me see who you are. Don't you know the rules? Don't you know that you should call me elder sister? Chapter 792. This little girl who was walking towards Ning Fan step by step was none other than the Tao spirit of the heavenly Tao of the lower world who sent the tribulation to Ning Fan in the past. With Ning Fan's current experience, he more or less knew that the tribulation of the heavenly Tao of the 4 heavens and 9 worlds could be slightly interfered by a certain great sovereign to control the tribulation of the heavenly Tao. The great emperor who could set up the Tao spirit of the heavenly Tao and interfere with the heavenly tribulation was from the Purple Mansion Academy in the southern heaven celestial realm. Her name was Tribulation Master Emperor, and it was said that she was an empress. Because this monarch was in charge of the tribulations, many ancient monsters would seek help from this monarch when they couldn't withstand the heavenly tribulations. It was also because of this that this emperor's network was extremely good, and he had friends all over the 4 heavens. He was respected by countless experts, and his reputation had spread far and wide. With Ning Fan's information network, he could occasionally hear some information about the immortal emperor wielding tribulation. It was said that this emperor had helped a certain old monster to delay his tribulation again. Speaking of which, Ning Fan had once heard the voice of the calamity-wielding great sovereign from the heavenly Tao ring. He had met this white-robed little girl several times. He had once seized this little girl's heavenly law puppet, and he had also turned hostility into friendship with this little girl. Now that he had reunited with the Tao spirit of the heavenly Tao who had once descended a tribulation on him in the eastern heaven, he naturally felt sentimental about how things had changed with the passage of time. However, he knew that now was not the time to feel sentimental. In Ning Fan's memory, the white-robed little girl in front of him had expressed her goodwill to him several times. She gave him all kinds of pastries, embroidered shoes and undergarments. Naturally, he no longer had any hostility towards this girl. If it wasn't for the special situation at this moment, where he was waiting to complete the mission Sun Luo gave him with Ghostface, he would have been very happy to greet this little girl. But he couldn't do that now. He had revealed his innate ghost mask in front of many cultivators, and if he removed the mask, it would imperceptibly reveal his true cultivation level and identity. What Ning Fan was most concerned about was the Fu Li Qi on her body and the strange feeling that he sensed earlier. Ning Fan cultivated the mind-reading technique which allowed him to read a woman's mind. Just now, when he was facing this woman, he actually had a feeling that his mind was being read. It wasn't until he activated the yin-yang locket that the feeling disappeared. After all, the yin-yang locket also had the ability to pry into one's mind, so they could cancel each other out. When he deliberately activated the mind-reading technique, to pry into the little girl's thoughts, he found that there was a powerful seal in her body, so he couldn't pry into her thoughts at all. At this moment, I can't meet this woman with my true appearance. But I didn't expect that the heavenly Dao spirit who was forced to retreat by my sword in the past was actually not at the void fragmentation realm but at the Duzhen realm. Presumably, when she was the heavenly Dao spirit, her cultivation base was sealed. To be able to control the heavenly Dao of a world, if one's cultivation was too low, it would probably be impossible. But why does this girl have such a strong Fu Li aura? If I'm not wrong, there shouldn't be any Fu Li demon blood in her body. She's not from the Fu Li clan, but she has some kind of fate with the Fu Li clan. While Ning Fan's mind was racing, the white-robed little girl had already walked to a distance of 3 zhang away from him. She stopped there with a slightly surprised expression on her face. When she gradually got closer to Ning Fan, the Fu Li qi that was sealed in her body actually felt like it was boiling. It was as if it was excited, which gave her an indescribable feeling. As for the heart-questioning technique that she had always been proud of, she could no longer sense Ning Fan's inner thoughts. One should know that with her cultivation base, after she successfully cultivated the heart-questioning technique, almost no cultivator below the Shikong realm could resist her heart-questioning technique. All of a sudden, the little girl made a judgment in her mind. She guessed that Ning Fan was at least a Shikong realm old monster. It couldn't be helped. With her eyesight, she could not see through the power of the innate ghost mask. If she could, she would probably overestimate Ning Fan's cultivation base even more. I asked you to remove your ghost mask and show me your true appearance. Why didn't you remove it? Could it be that you think I'm not qualified to see your true appearance because I don't have the Duzhen realm cultivation base? Or are you so ugly that you don't dare to show your true appearance? The little girl took a bite of the 8 treasures cake and said to Ning Fan fearlessly. Even though she guessed that Ning Fan was an Shikong realm old monster, she was not afraid of him. She was the Dao spirit of the heavenly Dao under the Calamity Sovereign Zhang. Due to the special identity of the Calamity Sovereign, she had a lot of connections. She had also met many powerful old monsters in her daily life. Those old monsters were quite kind to her. Even some old monsters in the 4 Fish sect were quite polite to her. Some Duzhen old monsters who had lived for hundreds of thousands of years even addressed her as elder sister according to her preference and often tried to make her happy. She had met many Shikong realm old monsters. Thus, she was naturally not afraid of them. Moreover, the Fu Li qi in her body was in a mess because of Ning Fan. Thus, her desire to see his true appearance became even stronger. However, it was impossible for Ning Fan to remove his ghost mask and show it to others just like that. He and this girl could be considered to have some karma. However, at this moment, he did not plan to get too involved with her. Just as he was about to say something to her to make her leave temporarily, the little demoness beside him spoke first. She smiled at the little girl in white robes and said, "Little dummy, it has been 1,000 years since we last met. You've become bolder after not seeing your elder sister Xiao for 1,000 years. You don't even know how to greet her when you see her." In other words, this little demoness seemed to be familiar with the little girl of the heavenly Dao. This made Ning Fan slightly stunned and he swallowed the words that he wanted to say. The little girl in white robes was originally only paying attention to Ning Fan. She did not notice the little demoness beside Ning Fan. At this moment, she suddenly heard the voice of the little demoness. She hurriedly turned to look at her. When she saw who it was, she revealed a flustered expression. She subconsciously took half a step back and said weakly, "Ah. Elder sister Ci, why are you here? I didn't mean to not greet you. I didn't see you here just now. If I saw you, I wouldn't have come." This dignified white-robed Dao spirit of the Duzhen realm seemed to be very scared when she saw the little demoness. However, the way she addressed the little demoness seemed to be very intimate. This greatly exceeded Ning Fan's expectation. He could not help but guess the relationship between the two girls curiously. "Heh. I am the young lord of the divine void realm. What's so strange about me appearing in the divine void realm? As for you, why didn't you become a Dao spirit of the heavenly Dao? Why did you go to the Four Majestic sect to create trouble? Could it be that you missed me? That's why you returned to the Four Heavens and came to meet me. The corner of the little demoness's mouth curled up slightly. There was a faint smile on her face which made her look somewhat evil. The white-robed little girl hurriedly shook her head after hearing her words. I won't miss you. As soon as she finished speaking, she felt that what she said was very inappropriate. She hurriedly changed her words. No, no, no. I don't dare to miss you. It's not like that. How can I not miss you? You're still so interesting. Don't be afraid. I won't eat you. If you have nothing else to do, stay here and talk to me. Before the little demoness could finish her words, the white-robed little girl's small hand trembled. The 8 treasures cake that she was chewing on almost fell from her mouth. She said weakly, Elder sister, I still have a mission to protect the Sea of Light. I don't have time to talk to you. I'll leave first. As soon as she finished speaking, the white-robed little girl directly left the place without saying a word to chase away the other cultivators, as if she was avoiding a tiger or a wolf. Even though she was curious about the mystery of Ning Fan's body that could make her Fu Li Qi become chaotic, she did not continue to investigate Ning Fan because she was afraid of the little demoness. After the girl left, Ning Fan asked curiously, Do you know this girl? She was once one of the Tao spirits of the heavenly Tao in the lower world. She also had another identity, which was the disciple of the immortal Emperor Zhangjie. I once followed the Void Sovereign to the Purple Palace of Southern Heaven due to some matters. I met this girl once and some small matters happened. That's why even though this girl has a high cultivation base, she is afraid of me like a tiger. It's very interesting. What did you do to her? Why is she so afraid of you? Ning Fan asked in surprise. It's a secret. The corner of the little demoness' mouth curled upwards. Suddenly, she smiled at Ning Fan and said, This little idiot wants to see your true appearance. I helped you to chase her away. How are you going to thank me? You don't mean what you say. You're afraid that I will attack her. Don't worry. She and I are considered as old acquaintances. I won't do anything to her. Is that so? The little demoness looked at Ning Fan meaningfully. No one knew what she was thinking. All the emotions that Sun Luo and the patriarch of the Shao family brought to her slightly subsided due to the appearance of the white-robed little girl. Ning Fan's eyes stared at the distant battlefield in the Sea of Light. On that battlefield, Sun Luo was engaged in a bitter battle with 12 immortal emperors. He was probably going to die. The emperors of the Eastern Heaven had joined the battle. Even the Four Fish sect was involved. To Ning Fan, it was still too early for him to step into a battlefield of this level. The battle in the Sea of Light lasted for 7 days. During these 7 days, the aftermath of magic techniques constantly spread out from the battlefield. Even though it was blocked by the barrier of the Sea of Light, there were still loud explosions that shocked many of the old monsters of the Eastern Heaven and the cultivators of the Four Fish. There were also many old monsters of the Eastern Heaven who rushed to this place after hearing that Sun Luo was trapped. Some of them were the subordinates of the emperors who were fighting there. There were also other cultivators who belonged to various forces of the Eastern Heaven. Other than the Divine Void Realm cultivators and the Four Fish sect cultivators, there were also millions of cultivators from the Eastern Heaven. Moreover, Ning Fan even saw a cultivator who also wore a ghost mask. He should be the assassin of the Slaughter Palace. He was secretly engraving information jade slips and sending it to the Slaughter Palace. When they saw Ning Fan wearing the ghost mask, the expressions of most of them changed slightly. However, they did not come over to talk to him. Even the people of the Slaughter Palace have appeared here. Ning Fan muttered to himself. The fact that Sun Luo was trapped by the 12 emperors had affected the nerves of the entire Eastern Heaven immortal world. Countless people were paying close attention to the battle. It was undeniable that Sun Luo was powerful and successful. He made the entire Eastern Heaven fear his devil name. 7 days passed. The fluctuations of the battle in the Sea of Light gradually weakened. Presumably, the outcome of the battle between the 12 emperors and Sun Luo had already been decided. On the 8th day, the countless light walls above the Sea of Light suddenly exploded and shattered. The 1,000,000 cultivators of the Four-Fish sect were shocked. They immediately retreated in a hurry, trying to avoid the fluctuations caused by the explosion of the light walls. However, there were still a few of them who died under the fluctuations. As soon as the light walls were destroyed, the figures of the 12 emperors and Sun Luo appeared in front of the cultivators once again. At this moment, 4 of the 12 emperors had their physical bodies destroyed. The rest of them were also severely injured. On the other side, Sun Luo had already died in battle. His physical body was destroyed and his primordial spirit was shattered. His head was hanging high up in the air. His head was tightly shut with black blood flowing out of its eyes. It was hanging high up on a golden light pillar. Below his head, the destruction beast was lying on the ground with severe injuries. It looked at Sun Luo's head with its beady eyes. Sun Luo was defeated in the end. No matter how strong he was not a match for the 12 emperors. After all, among the 12 emperors, there were even 2 4-darkness great emperors who were part of the 9th tribulation of eternity. Of course, the main reason why he was defeated was that he was reluctant to use the remaining power of time and quicksand to form samsara. Otherwise, even if he was no match for the 12 emperors, he could still kill several low-level immortal emperors with the remaining power of samsara in his hands before he was defeated. Old devil Sun Luo is dead. Good. Good. Countless divine void realm cultivators and eastern heaven cultivators cheered. From their point of view, as long as Sun Luo is alive, the eastern heaven will not be at peace. Among these cheering cultivators, there were no cultivators from the eternal era. As for the 12 emperors, none of them showed any expression of joy. On the contrary, all of their expressions were solemn and fearful. Sun Luo is not dead. Ning Fan's eyes shone brightly. He had cultivated the power of samsara before. Even though his comprehension of it was low, he could vaguely sense that there was a terrifying power of samsara flowing inside Sun Luo's head that was hanging high up in the sky. This power of samsara was even 2 times stronger than the power contained in the ring of the incipient saint ring. Moreover, it had a different quality. The previous power of samsara was the result of Sun Luo forcefully merging the power of time and quicksand into the great Tao of void. Both of them intertwined with each other, separating the void from the real. Life and death followed each other, thus forming the cycle of samsara. The current power of samsara was formed after Sun Luo's death. It had Sun Luo's persistence in dying 100 times without any regrets. Since Sun Luo was already dead, the coincidentally formed power of samsara began to fill up and become complete. Sun Luo was dead but his head was still alive. That was what Ning Fan firmly believed. There was one thing that Ning Fan did not know. The most terrifying thing about a third-step cultivator who was also known as a sage was that they were difficult to destroy. Even if a sage's primordial spirit was destroyed and he lost his life, as long as his incomplete body in Tao remained, he could still fight until the last moment. Even if his blood was spilled and his body was incomplete, as long as his remnant consciousness remained, he could still fight until the end. At the moment, Sun Luo was in such a situation. It was also a kind of realm that he had deliberately reached. He fought until the last moment and was left with only one head. In the end, he died but he was not afraid. That was his goal. He wanted to use his last remaining body to unleash the complete power of samsara. Currently, Ning Fan could not see through all the key points but he gained great enlightenment. All of these enlightenment were related to samsara. When countless divine void realm cultivators and the old monsters of the eastern sky were celebrating Sun Luo's death, Sun Luo's head that was hanging high up in the sky opened its hollow eyes. That pair of empty eyes suddenly became lively, crazed, and stubborn. There was no longer any sign of life inside the head, but it had an aura force that made everyone tremble. No one knew that even though Sun Luo was dead at this moment, his head was the head of a real sage. That was Sun Luo's original goal and he had achieved it. Qianyu, I want you to open your eyes again and witness a beautiful scene. Even if I only have one head left, so what? What is there to be afraid of? Roar. Boundless blood-red flames spread out from under Sun Luo's head. An earth-shaking devil roar suddenly came from Sun Luo's mouth. At this moment, Sun Luo's head flew high up into the sky. At this moment, a blood-red halo that made the 12 great emperors' expressions change suddenly spread across heaven and earth. It was Sun Luo's devil roar after his death. The depth of his remnant consciousness was countless times greater than when he was alive. The killing intent that the blood-red halo contained was enough to kill the 4 great emperors who had lost their physical bodies and severely injure the rest of the immortal emperors. That force spread in a frenzy, causing the 12 great emperors' expressions to change and they retreated frantically. However, the strange thing was that after the blood-red halo spread to a certain distance, it suddenly stopped moving and was forcibly fixed on the Star River. The blood-red halo did not continue to attack the 12 emperors. However, any cultivator who stepped into the range of the halo or tried to attack Sun Luo's head would be attacked by the halo. Among the 12 emperors, no one could block the power of the halo and no one dared to step into its range. Within the halo, only the cracked heaven-suppressing bell floated in the Star River, only the destruction beast was on its last breath, and only Sun Luo's head floated silently. At this moment it was as if only the hanging head was left between heaven and earth. Sun Luo glared fiercely at the heaven-suppressing bell. Finally, no one could stop him from destroying the bell to save his life. Finally. His remaining head suddenly shone with a demonic light. He roared crazily and used his remaining head to slam against the heaven-suppressing bell. The force of this collision was indescribable. Even the 2 great emperors of the 4 Meridians sect, who were outside the halo and had cultivation bases of the eternal 9 calamities, were shocked by this force. In their eyes, although this collision seemed ordinary, its power had already exceeded the scope of the second step. No second-step cultivator could withstand the force of this collision. This collision caused the cracks on the heaven-suppressing bell to spread rapidly. Almost 1/6 of the bell was directly destroyed, turning into thousands of golden fragments that fell in all directions. This collision caused the heaven-suppressing bell to tremble even more violently, turning into rolling bell sounds that reflected back at Sun Luo's head. Immediately, blood flowed from Sun Luo's head, but there was no pain in his eyes. He was already dead, so how could he feel pain? 1/6 of the heaven-suppressing bell had already been destroyed. The demonic light in his eyes changed, and the power of reincarnation poured out like water. Part of the heaven-suppressing bell had already been destroyed, and Qianyu's remnant Tao was flowing out of the bell bit by bit. Under the control of Sun Luo's reincarnation power, phantoms flew out of the heaven-suppressing bell. There were birds and beasts, Dharma treasures, and divine abilities. There were humans and immortals. All the living beings that died under the heaven-suppressing bell, the secret treasures that were destroyed under the heaven-suppressing bell, those with Daos, and the remnant Daos left behind some and were stored in the bell. Among those phantoms, there was a phantom of a woman with hollow eyes that attracted all of Sun Luo's attention. At this moment, Sun Luo only wanted to do one thing, and that was to use all the reincarnation power in his head to revive this woman's remnant Tao phantom and let her be reborn in the eastern sky. Because she was his one and only true love. That year, I stood in front of 10,000 enemies, I didn't seek victory or defeat, I only wanted to hold your warmth tightly. That life, I traveled the 100,000 galaxies, I didn't cultivate for the next life, I only wanted to meet you along the way. That day, my head was hanging high up but my heart was calm. Qianyu, wake up. Qianyu, wake up. Roar. The hanging head once again let out a shocking demonic roar. This time, the Tao essence contained in the roar was completely different from before. It wasn't killing but redemption. It wasn't just longing, but also persistence. I'm going home late, but there will be updates. I'll try to update 2 times tonight. Chapter 793. Legend had it that a third-step saint could resurrect a cultivator who only had an incomplete Tao. It was just a legend. No one in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds had witnessed it with their own eyes. However, the cultivators who came to this place today were fortunate enough to witness such a rare scene. When Sen Luo was still alive, he did not know if his samsara power could resurrect Xiao Qinyu. However, he did not hesitate to give it a try even if he had to sacrifice his own life. Even if he was already a dead man when he resurrects Qianyu, he would not regret it. Even if he lost his consciousness and could no longer look at her, he would not regret it. He was such a stubborn devil. Even if he had to fight till his last drop of blood, he would never change his Tao. His love might not be able to touch Ning Fan and make up for his mistakes. However, even if Ning Fan had a heart of steel and stone, he would still be moved by his madness and persistence in his Tao heart. It was because Ning Fan was still a person who pursued the Tao in the end. Sen Luo's hanging head carried a great meaning to Ning Fan. Ning Fan's Tao was stubbornness. What else in the world could be more stubborn than Sen Luo's hanging head? He would not regret it even if he died 100 times. At this moment, Ning Fan had a deeper understanding of the Tao of stubbornness. To Sen Luo, stubbornness meant not caring about anything and everything. If he is overcautious and indecisive, he would no longer be Sen Luo. On the divine space star, the blind old man who was standing on the long stairs suddenly shed tears. His expression was bitter and he sighed softly. Foolish child. Foolish child. His heart ached for the passing of his disciple. However, he did not stop him in the end. Sen Luo's Tao was not confused. No matter what was right or wrong, he did not stop him. He would help him clean up the mess. The eyes of Senro's remaining head suddenly flashed with a resolute, demonic light. All of the power of reincarnation poured down like a rainbow. It was as light as a feather and poured toward the woman's shadow without reservation. I will use my entire life of samsara in exchange for you opening your eyes. Can you? The flesh and blood of Sen Luo's head turned into blood and flowed away bit by bit. Gradually, only a dead skull was left. It was decayed and dark. There was no longer any life force or samsara power left. All of his samsara power and his remaining life force were given to the woman in front of him. Otherwise, even if he was left with only his skull, he would still maintain his will and fight to the death. With a cracking sound, Sen Luo's skull shattered into 6 pieces and fell into the starry sky. Among the 12 martial emperors, 3 of them immediately dashed toward the 6 skulls, as if they were going to fight for the 6 skulls. In their opinion, Senro's skull was probably useful. At this moment, when the 12 emperors confirmed that Sen Luo had really perished, their expressions eased up slightly. The other martial monarchs were stunned. He looked thoughtfully at the phantom of a woman who walked out of the bell. He watched as the woman's body condensed bit by bit. Her clothes fluttered as she appeared gracefully in front of the world. Apart from the woman's incomplete Taoist phantom, the other incomplete Taoist phantoms that had flown out of the heaven-suppressing bell vanished from the world. How beautiful was this woman! Her eyes were like 1,000 raindrops descending into the mortal world, yet they were untainted by a speck of dust, aloof from the world. The Void Emperor's expression was the most complicated. The moment he saw the woman, his expression darkened and he closed his eyes. His junior brother had died, but Xiao Qianyu had come back to life. It wasn't that he wasn't interested in that woman, but he wasn't like Sen Luo, who didn't care much about love. He was a true immortal emperor. Since ancient times, emperors had always been heartless. I want to see Sen Luo. But who is Sen Luo? Who am I? Who are all of you? The woman's eyes were filled with confusion as she murmured to herself. Suddenly, she glanced to the side and saw the three martial monarchs who were fighting for Sun Luo's skull. Among the three martial monarchs, two were sixth and seventh tribulation martial monarchs, and one was an eighth tribulation martial monarch of the Four Meats sect. The moment Xiao Qianyu's eyes saw Sun Luo's skull, she couldn't help but tear up. Her heart felt like it was pierced by thousands of arrows, and the pain was indescribable. Whose skull was that? Why did she feel so sad and care about it so much? She didn't recognize the skull at all. Even if she did, she wouldn't be able to remember it. She raised her finger and channeled her magic power like rain, pressing it towards the three martial monarchs. She didn't want them to touch the skull. It was hers, and it could only be hers. Although she didn't know why. Her body originally didn't release any aura, but when her finger pressed down, it immediately activated all the magic power in her body. This magic power contained the magic power she had when she was alive, and also the cultivation that Sun Luo had given her. At this moment, her cultivation was no longer at the thought fragmentation realm when she was alive, but the eighth tribulation eternal realm. This cultivation was clearly different from her cultivation when she was alive. When her finger pressed down, her eyes immediately became confused. She couldn't remember when she had broken through to the immortal emperor realm. She had even forgotten who she was, but she still felt that this magic power didn't belong to her. However, she didn't reject the aura of this magic power. It was very warm, who is it? This magic power that doesn't belong to me, who is its owner? Her finger turned into a golden rain of light that filled the sky, forming three rain vortexes in the starry sky, sprinkling towards the three martial monarchs. Every drop of the golden rain was as heavy as a mountain, and it had the power to destroy a low-grade cultivation planet. Under the heavy curtain of rain, even the three martial monarchs' expressions changed. They hurriedly retreated and used their divine abilities, summoning their magic treasures to block the light rain that filled the sky. The three of them looked indignant as they glared at Xiao Qianyu. One of them even scolded, "When you were alive, you must have been a divine void martial monarch. Why did you attack us for no reason?" It was obvious that the person who spoke did not know Xiao Qianyu's identity and cultivation when she was alive. Xiao Qianyu took the opportunity to wave her sleeves, taking the 6 skull fragments into her hands, and slowly pieced them together to form a complete skull. Looking at the complete skull, her heart ached again. She couldn't explain it, and she couldn't understand why. However, her tears had already become a poem. What's going on? Xiao Qianyu was only at the thought fragmentation realm before she died. Why did she break through to the 8th tribulation eternal realm after she was resurrected? Divine Void Martial Monarch's expression changed. He had vaguely guessed the reason why Sun Luo had destroyed the heaven-suppressing bell, and he had personally witnessed Xiao Qianyu's broken Tao resurrection. Seeing Xiao Qianyu's resurrection, he wasn't that surprised. After all, he had heard that a third-step saint could resurrect a second-step cultivator's broken Tao. Although it was the first time he had seen a broken Tao cultivator resurrect, he wasn't surprised. However, seeing Xiao Qianyu's cultivation level skyrocket to such a realm, he couldn't accept it no matter what. Divine Void Martial Monarch couldn't understand how the woman in front of him could obtain such a high cultivation level just by dying once. She was now at the same level as him. Could it be that all broken Tao cultivators who were resurrected by the reincarnation force could obtain a huge increase in their cultivation level? No, that was obviously impossible. There were no similar records in the ancient books. Normally, even if it was a broken Tao cultivator who was resurrected by a saint, before they completely returned to their original state, their cultivation level would drop drastically. He was Divine Void Martial Monarch, and he had cultivated for countless years to reach the 8th tribulation eternal realm cultivation level. However, Xiao Qianyu had reached this realm so easily. This was really frustrating for him. 8th tribulation eternal realm. This. Void Martial Monarch suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Xiao Qianyu in disbelief. It was obvious that he was also shocked by Xiao Qianyu's cultivation level. Among the other celestial emperors, there were a few who knew Xiao Qianyu's cultivation level before she died, and they were all shocked. This was the first time they had seen the reincarnation force resurrect a broken Dao cultivator. It was reasonable that they couldn't understand. The reason why this woman's cultivation level was higher than when she was alive after she was resurrected was because the method of her resurrection was different from ordinary people. Her resurrection this time wasn't a normal resurrection. It should be said that according to the normal method, even if Sun Luo used the Genesis Saint Samsara ring, he still wouldn't be able to resurrect this woman. This woman wasn't resurrected at all. It was obvious that Sun Luo had sacrificed himself to help this woman. Interesting. I didn't expect that a mere immortal king of the fifth tribulation eternal realm would be able to wreak havoc in the eastern heaven. Moreover, with his heaven-shaking methods, he sacrificed himself to resurrect a broken Dao cultivator, and even increased the cultivation level of the person who was resurrected. This was something that was rarely seen since ancient times. This old man wants this person's skull. A sudden voice suddenly resounded in Eastern Sea Star Field, shocking countless cultivators and even the 12 great emperors. No one knew who this person was or when he had appeared. However, when they felt the heaven-shaking aura contained in this person's words, no one dared to ignore his existence. It was a purple-robed old man surrounded by seven-colored light. His body was illusory as he suddenly appeared in the starry sky. His aura was like the sky as he stared coldly at Xiao Qianyu who had just been resurrected. He wasn't a third-step cultivator. His cultivation level was still at the second step, but there was a hint of the eighth color in the seven-colored light around him. Although his cultivation level was still at the ninth tribulation eternal realm, it was far from being comparable to the 2 tribulation immortal emperors of the four demonic sect. There was a qualitative difference between them. "Give me the skull in your hand," the illusory old man said coldly. His voice contained a shocking aura that spread in all directions like an invisible sound wave. Xiao Qianyu was the first to bear the brunt of it. Xiao Qianyu, who had the cultivation level of the 8th tribulation eternal realm, was hit by the sound wave. Her aura instantly became chaotic. Her beautiful face changed and she quickly retreated. The cultivators who felt the pressure from this person all had their Dao hearts tremble. Those with slightly lower cultivation levels felt their aura suppressed and fell from the starry sky, as if they were being crushed by a huge mountain. Even the expressions of the other immortal emperors changed. One of the 2 tribulation immortal emperors of the four demonic sect changed his expression and immediately warned the other 3 immortal emperors of the four demonic sect. "Don't offend this person. He's a quasi-saint from a secret race." His voice wasn't loud, but it spread across the galaxy almost instantly. The words quasi-saint and secret race were like the collapse of the sky and the earth, making the hearts of all cultivators who heard it tremble. Quasi-saint. Everyone who heard these words had a shocked expression on their faces. In this era where there were no saints, a quasi-saint was the supreme being. Ordinary immortal emperors couldn't be compared to them, and no one dared to offend them. Xiao Qianyu's beautiful eyes were filled with fear when she faced this quasi-saint who had appeared out of nowhere. She instinctively knew that she had no chance of winning against this person, but she was unwilling to hand over the skull in her hand to this person. She felt that the skull was very important to her, even if she couldn't remember or know who the owner of the skull was. "No matter who you are, I won't hand over this skull to you." Xiao Qianyu's voice was cold and resolute. Her resoluteness vaguely resembled Sun Luo. She had obtained all of Sun Luo's power, including his persistence and Dao sense. From then on, Sun Luo would live in her life. However, she didn't know it. "You can't keep what I've set my eyes on. Give it to me." The purple-robed old man let out a cold snort and waved his hand. Immediately, countless purple straws fell from the sky. Those straws were illusory and ethereal. However, they contained an indescribably great divine ability which seemed to possess heaven-shaking power. He's from the Purple Clan. All of a sudden, the 12 emperors guessed the origin of the old man. There were also many old monsters who exclaimed the old man's origin based on the divine ability of the purple straws. A quasi-saint of the Purple Clan. He had heard about the name of the Purple Clan from Yuanyao before. He had also injured an abandoned member of the Purple Clan during the Star Sea Demon War. He remembered that the member was called Zi Chuan or something. However, he did not expect to see a quasi-saint of the Purple Clan here today. Although they were both in the 9th tribulation of the Eternal Era, a quasi-saint was in existence who had half a step into the 3rd step. He was not an existence that ordinary great emperors of the 9 tribulations of the Eternal Era could compare to, let alone Xiao Qianyu. Seeing that the purple straws that filled the sky were about to turn into a divine ability and hurt Xiao Qianyu, a blind old man suddenly stepped out from the divine space star and appeared in the starry sky. He stood in front of Xiao Qianyu and blocked her way. His expression was blank, but his aura forced that no one could ignore. I can give you the skull of my disciple. However, you can't touch this girl. The blind old man's body was surrounded by 7-colored light. Among the 7 colors, there was also a trace of the 8th color. Thus, none of the cultivators whose cultivation bases were lower than the Eternal Era realm could see his true appearance. Ning Fan, of course, could not see his true appearance. However, he was shocked by his powerful aura force. The aura force of the blind old man was not any weaker than that quasi-saint of the Purple Clan. How could Ning Fan expect that the godly Void Pavilion did not only have the 2 divine Void Emperors but also a quasi-saint who had been living in seclusion? The little demoness was equally shocked. She had the identity of the divine Void Pavilion's young lord. Thus, she knew many secrets of the godly Void Pavilion. However, she did not know that there was a 3rd immortal emperor in the godly Void Pavilion. Moreover, this immortal emperor was actually a quasi-saint. Master. The Void Sovereign's eyes flashed, but he felt slightly relieved. With his master here, there was nothing to worry about even if a quasi-saint of the secret race comes. As soon as the quasi-saint in purple robes saw the blind old man, he immediately narrowed his eyes. After pondering for a moment, he dispersed the sky-covering straws. As for the blind old man, he remained indifferent and did not say a word. No one saw how he did it, but he had already taken the Sen Luo skull from Xiao Qianyu's hands. After a moment of hesitation, he still handed the skull to the person who came. Who are you? Return that skull to me. That is. Xiao Qianyu felt pain in her heart. She looked at the blind old man indignantly. She just felt that this person was very familiar, but she just could not remember who he was. Do you know whose skull it is? The blind old man asked in a stupefied manner. I don't know and I don't remember. Xiao Qianyu felt a stabbing pain in her heart and said sorrowfully. Although she didn't know, her heart ached. Why was it like this? Since you don't know, then you should never know. Luo Er's lifelong wish is only you. You must live well. Don't provoke a murderous calamity just for a skull. Don't let his painstaking efforts go to waste. As soon as he finished speaking, the blind old man's vast spirit sense swept across the starry sky and finally fell on the quasi-saint of the Purple Clan. The chaos in Eastern Heaven ends here. People of the secret race, quickly leave my Eastern Sea Star region. His words contained the same unyielding aura as Sen Luo's. It did not allow anyone to refuse, even if the opponent was a person of the secret race or a quasi-saint. The quasi-saint of the Purple Clan looked displeased as if he was very dissatisfied with the tone of the blind old man. However, after weighing the Sen Luo skull in his hand, he did not want to fight with the blind old man here. His eyes flashed slightly, but he finally snorted coldly and fled. The quasi-saint of the secret race was actually forced to retreat by the quasi-saint of divine void. This shock rose in the hearts of countless Eastern Heaven cultivators. Within 4 days, there were not many people who could make a cultivator of the secret race suffer a loss. Moreover, the opponent was a quasi-saint. My godly void pavilion actually has a quasi-saint overseeing it. The cultivators of the godly void pavilion were all greatly shocked. Xiao Qianyu, you were a person of divine void when you were alive, but you have already died once for divine void. After your rebirth, if you want to continue staying in divine void, this old man will naturally protect your safety. If you want to leave, this old man will not stop you. No one in divine void would dare to stop you. The blind old man sent two spirit senses in the direction of Emperor Shen Void and Emperor Shen Void, as if telling them how to treat Xiao Qianyu well. After that, he let out a long sigh and his figure flashed, disappearing without a trace. He returned to Divine Void Star and stood alone on the long stairs. The autumn wind was bleak, making him look even more lonely. Sen Luo's death made him sad. He needed a good time to calm down. Xiao Qianyu was left alone standing on the starry sky. She was at a loss and tears were streaming down her face. Xiao Qianyu could not remember who the owner of the skull was. However, when the skull was taken by someone else and she was powerless to stop it, she felt as if a knife was being twisted in her heart. Roar! A low roar of a beast suddenly entered Xiao Qianyu's ears. It was the voice of the destruction beast. It was so familiar, yet so strange. You are, Xiao Qianyu's light flashed and appeared in front of the destruction beast. Looking at the destruction beast, she only felt that it was familiar, yet so strange. No matter how hard she tried, she could not remember anything about this beast. She just stretched out her hand in a daze and stroked the destruction beast's huge body, which was like a cultivation planet, with tears at the corner of her eyes. The chaos in Eastern Heaven had ended here. Among the 4 immortal emperors of the 4 Meridians sect, an 8th Tribulation immortal emperor had his body smashed by Sen Luo with a punch. Among the immortal emperors of Eastern Heaven, Han Yun Great Emperor, Yellow Turban Great Emperor, and Maha Great Emperor had lost their bodies. It would not be easy for these immortal emperors who had their bodies destroyed by Sen Luo to rebuild their bodies. The other immortal emperors had also suffered serious injuries. They all needed to immediately go into seclusion to heal. Although they were badly injured by Sen Luo, they were much luckier than Abyss Great Emperor and Hongzhe Great Emperor who had died in this chaos. Even after the great battle, the expressions of the immortal emperors changed when they talked about Sen Luo. 2 of the 16 immortal emperors of Eastern Heaven had fallen. From now on, there were only 14 famous immortal emperors in Eastern Heaven. The immortal emperors left with their subordinates. The cultivators of the 4 Freaks sect were temporarily stationed in Eastern Sea Star region to deal with the aftermath of the heaven-suppressing bell. The heaven-suppressing bell was badly damaged. 1/6 of its body was destroyed by Sen Luo. This bell was of great significance. It must not be destroyed easily. It must be repaired properly. The future bell offering ceremony must also continue. More and more divine void realm cultivators set foot on the Star River and began to clean up the battlefield. The cultivators who did not belong to the 4 Freaks sect or the godly void pavilion were considered as outsiders. It was about time for them to leave. At this moment, the sound of fireworks suddenly resounded above the Star River. Colorful lotus-shaped fireworks bloomed in the dead silence of the Star River. They were like fireworks in winter. It was so quiet, so beautiful and so lonely. The one who set off the fireworks was Ning Fan. At this moment, after waving his hand to set off the fireworks, he temporarily bid farewell to little Demonis and gave Xiao Qianyu a deep look. Then, his figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. The chaos in Eastern Heaven had ended. All the divine void realm cultivators had come out. Little Demonis would not be in any trouble. Ning Fan had also fulfilled Sen Luo's last wish by setting off all the fireworks in the sky. Since his mission was completed, he naturally had to retreat. It was too dangerous to do this in front of countless old monsters to attract attention. Fortunately, most of the people were paying attention to other things. Not many of them paid attention to Ning Fan. Not many people cared about his departure. Even though his act of setting off fireworks was strange and made people suspicious, no one was willing to investigate it. After Ning Fan concealed himself, he flew towards the outer region of Eastern Sea Star region. Seeing that no one was paying attention to him, he could not help but feel relieved. He had already given the jade box that Sun Luo gave to little Demonis. She could refine the black ball of light on her own. It would not be difficult for her to get rid of the void poison in her body. At this moment, Ning Fan was flying towards the outer region of Eastern Sea Star region with a heavy heart. This direction was the direction to leave Eastern Sea Star region. It was also the place where the Devil Chi crystal left behind by the heavenly devil who looked like Mo Luo had fallen. At this moment, Ning Fan did not notice that there was a hidden shadow of a ball of light following him silently. That shadow of the ball of light was one of the many shadows of the broken Tao that flew out from the heaven-suppressing bell when Sun Luo destroyed it. The reason why it was following Ning Fan was because it instinctively sensed a trace of the Eastern Sea Bell's reaction from Ning Fan's storage pouch. This shadow of the ball of light was neither in the shape of a human nor a bird or a beast. It was also not in the form of a magic treasure. This ball of light that was left behind by an unknown object was tailing Ning Fan all the way. No one knew about it, not even the emperors of the Divine Void Realm. Only when Ning Fan had flown far away from Eastern Sea Star did he vaguely feel that he was being followed by something. This feeling of being followed caused his heart to sink. However, the other party did not seem to have any hostility towards him. Instead, it kept giving him a friendly aura which made him feel strange. What is following me? Ning Fan's heart sank. All of a sudden, his body flashed and entered the profound Yin world, trying to avoid being followed. To his surprise, the mysterious ball of light that was hiding its tracks suddenly revealed itself. With a flash, it directly entered the profound Yin world and appeared in front of Ning Fan. This scene caused Ning Fan's expression to change. Many immortal emperors had treasures that belonged to the middle kiliacosm. Even though the profound Yin world was just a middle kiliacosm and it might not be able to withstand the attacks of immortal emperors, no one had ever heard of an immortal emperor who could directly enter the middle kiliacosm of another immortal emperor. This ball of light directly entered the middle kiliacosm that Ning Fan controlled. The strength of its ability shocked Ning Fan. After taking a closer look at the ball of light, Ning Fan was greatly puzzled. He also could not tell what exactly this ball of light was. This ball of light had been hovering around him without any hostility. On the contrary, it seemed to be friendly to him, which confused him. It looked like a ball of golden cotton candy. It felt a little illusory and soft to the touch. It was indestructible and did not possess any offensive power. Its form was somewhat similar to the many shadows of the broken Tao in the heaven-suppressing bell, but there were also some differences. It contained Tao power, but Ning Fan did not know what Tao it was. The only thing Ning Fan could be sure of was that this item was definitely not the manifestation of some kind of ability. It was also not a secret treasure that others used to track him. Any living beings or magic treasures that were destroyed by the heaven-suppressing bell would have their broken Tao left in it as long as they contained Tao sense. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. Could it be that this item was also one of the many shadows of the broken Tao in the heaven-suppressing bell and it managed to escape after Sun Luo destroyed the bell? This item might also be one of the shadows of the broken Tao in the heaven-suppressing bell. However, I don't know what exactly left this shadow behind and why it is following me and not willing to leave. The shadows of the other living beings and magic treasures will disappear from heaven and earth once they leave the heaven-suppressing bell. Why can this item remain here all this time without disappearing? While Ning Fan was pondering, his expression suddenly changed. He patted his storage pouch, took out the Eastern Ocean bell and tossed it into the sky. The golden cotton candy that was hovering around him immediately showed a joyful expression and kept hovering around the Eastern Ocean bell. This ball of light is really following me for this bell. While Ning Fan was investigating the mysterious ball of light, Xiao Qianyu was standing next to the destruction beast in the starry sky near Eastern Ocean planet. She stared at the fireworks that filled the sky and was lost in thought. These fireworks are so beautiful. I really want to see them together with Sen Luo. But who is Sen Luo? Sorry for the late double update. I'll update even later today. I'll try to update earlier tomorrow. Chapter 794. Sen Luo was already dead. However, the series of aftershocks that he caused still tugged at the heartstrings of the cultivators in the eastern heaven. Ning Fan was already very lucky to be able to escape unscathed after being dragged into this chaos. Initially, he planned to find that Devil Chi crystal after setting off the fireworks and leave the Eastern Ocean star region to sort out his gains from this trip. However, due to the mysterious light ball following him, he had no choice but to give up on his original plan. In the profound Yin world, Ning Fan had already kept his ghost mask. He stood on the ground and looked at the vast sky. The Eastern Ocean bell was floating in the sky. A soft golden light ball was hovering around the bell. The golden light ball was filled with joy at the moment. It seemed to like the Eastern Ocean bell very much. There seemed to be some kind of connection between it and the Eastern Ocean bell. However, it was unclear. Ning Fan's eyes turned solemn. At this moment, he was absolutely sure that the reason why this mysterious light ball was following him was because of the Eastern Ocean bell. However, what made Ning Fan curious was that this light ball did not have its own consciousness. It did not have the intention to seize the Eastern Ocean bell. It came for the Eastern Ocean bell. However, just hovering around the bell was enough to satisfy it. Every time the golden light ball touched the Eastern Ocean bell, its body would uncontrollably release an ancient Tao aura. At first, the Tao aura was very complicated. However, it gradually became clearer towards the end. At first, Ning Fan could not identify the type of Tao power contained in the light ball. Now, however, he could gradually identify it. This is the void Tao power. Moreover, this Tao power is very pure and different from ordinary Tao power. Ning Fan waved his hand and the Eastern Ocean bell shrank back to his palm. The golden light ball immediately landed in front of Ning Fan and hovered around the Eastern Ocean bell. In the end, as if it was tired of hovering, it shook and turned into the size of an egg. Then, it rolled into Ning Fan's palm and snuggled tightly with the Eastern Ocean bell. Holding the golden light ball in his palm, Ning Fan's expression instantly changed. The moment his palm came into contact with the golden light ball, an unimaginable void Tao power immediately flowed out from the light ball and spread across the entire profound Yin world. This sudden change greatly shocked Ning Fan. After all, he had also touched the golden light ball with his finger before, but nothing like this happened. In an instant, the space of the entire profound Yin world seemed to have frozen. The breeze stopped blowing, the clouds stopped moving, and the water stopped flowing. The falling raindrops floated in the air and did not fall. Everything seemed to freeze in that instant. The entire profound Yin world was frozen by that golden ball of light. In this world, Ning Fan was the only one who could move. This golden ball of light clearly contained an abnormally powerful void Tao energy, which could stop a medium-level profound Yin world. It should be said that this power had already far surpassed the scope of Tao energy. It's the power of Tao laws. First step cultivators would start cultivating intent power when they reached the soul formation stage. The so-called concept could be seen as incomplete Tao power. The mountain has its own meaning, the water has its own meaning, a cup of tea, a bottle of wine, everything has its own meaning. All things in the world had their own intentions because they had a Tao. First-step cultivators couldn't see the existence of Tao, but they could see the intent of Tao and gradually go from real to void. Looking at the mountains and rivers in front of him, he gradually stopped looking at the mountains and rivers. Instead, he looked at the Tao contained within. Intent realms were divided into high and low levels. However, the cultivation of any intent realm would eventually turn into the pursuit of Tao. Those who cultivate the intent realm of fire would most likely embark on the path of pursuing the true Tao of fire. Those who cultivate the intent realm of lightning would most likely become a lightning immortal if they step into the second step. The second step cultivators didn't cultivate their intent but their Tao. Life immortals entered the Tao through their intent while true immortals guarded the Tao and pursued the true Tao. The ancient cultivators tried to use the Tao truth to explore the rules of Tao. Fire burns all things, rain swamps all lives, trees stand out in the forest. The 5 elements in the world had different powers. All of them were related to the rules of Tao. The rules of the existence of Tao were the Tao laws. Most of the ancient cultivators could use the power of the Tao laws to display their abilities. However, there were only a few who could truly control the Tao laws. Only cultivators who had cultivated to the 6th tribulation could be called immortal emperors. Only those who had mastered a certain Tao law could be called the sovereign immortal emperor. The Tao law was a power that was higher than the Tao truth and intent realm. It was a kind of rule power. It was a power that only the sovereign immortal emperor could completely control. The reason why the golden ball of light could stop the profound Yin world was because he had mastered the Tao laws of the profound Yin world in an instant. Previously, he ignored the barrier of the profound Yin world and directly entered this world. Most likely, he was relying on the power of the Tao laws. Even Sen Luo who had cultivated the great Tao of void to the extreme would not be able to enter the profound Yin world directly. However, this golden ball of light could do it. The golden ball of light on his palm gradually moved closer to the Eastern Ocean bell as if it was looking for a place to reside in. Its light slowly seeped into the Eastern Ocean bell and fused perfectly with it. Gradually, they became one. This action caused the Eastern Ocean bell to emit a dazzling golden light. There was even an endless power of the Tao laws faintly spreading out from the bell. At the moment when the golden ball of light completely disappeared and fused into the Eastern Ocean bell, Ning Fan held the bell in his hand and could clearly feel how each trace of the power of the Tao laws flowed inside the bell. With the Eastern Ocean bell as a medium, Ning Fan finally saw what exactly the golden ball of light was. The true form of the golden ball of light was tens of thousands of threads of the Tao laws that were as thin as hair. Each of the threads of the Tao laws contained the Tao laws of the great Tao of void. After the golden ball of light disappeared, all of the threads of the Tao laws resided inside the Eastern Ocean bell. The great Tao of void was a type of great Tao of space. It was a type of power that could control worlds. At the moment when the golden ball of light completely fused into the bell, the frozen space of the entire profound Yin world suddenly disappeared. Everything returned to normal. Ning Fan withdrew his initial shocked expression and stared at the small bell in his hand with a solemn expression. The Eastern Ocean bell had already fused with the golden ball of light. Ning Fan was eager to know if there were any changes to the bell. Perhaps the power of the Eastern Ocean bell would greatly increase after fusing with the power of the Tao laws of the golden ball of light. Ning Fan continuously made a few hand seals at the small bell, slightly activating the Eastern Ocean bell to display its abilities. Circles of golden sound rings spread out from the Eastern Ocean bell. The power of the sound rings was still at the level of a divine transformation realm attack. It was not much stronger than before. All of the power of the Tao laws in the golden ball of light was just sealed inside the bell. None of it was activated by Ning Fan. After several attempts, Ning Fan had no choice but to believe that the fusion of the Eastern Ocean bell and the golden ball of light did not cause any changes to the magic treasure itself. During this process of fusion, the Eastern Ocean bell merely acted as a container to contain all of the power of the Tao laws in the golden ball of light. These power of the Tao laws did not have any direct destructive power. However, they contained unimaginable Tao of void. Ning Fan held the small bell in his hand. His eyes were filled with unfathomable expressions as he pondered about various possibilities of making good use of the golden ball of light. He sat on the ground and held the bell with one of his hands. He stared at the small bell in silence. After a long time, Ning Fan suddenly made a decision. He drew out a golden thread that was as thin as a strand of hair from the Eastern Ocean bell. His eyes turned cold and he swallowed the golden thread in one gulp. This golden thread was naturally one of the countless threads of Tao laws in the golden ball of light. The moment he swallowed the thread of Tao laws, a wave of Tao power of void that was far beyond what Ning Fan could withstand exploded inside his body. Ning Fan closed his eyes tightly. His body felt like it was situated in the void of billions of miles. He was the only person in the vast void. He wanted to absorb the Tao power of void in his body bit by bit, but he realized that it was extremely difficult to do so. Ning Fan's initial plan was to try to refine this golden ball of light step by step and use it to increase his strength. However, he had underestimated the difficulty of refining the threads of Tao laws. After just swallowing a single thread of Tao laws, he immediately felt exhausted. The Tao power contained in a single thread of Tao laws was far beyond what a life-immortal realm expert could withstand. Even a true immortal who was proficient in this Tao would not dare to absorb it without permission. Ning Fan had never studied the great Tao of void before. His understanding of the great Tao of void was still at the level of the whirlpool spatial technique. His body did not have the foundation of the Tao power of void. Thus, it was naturally extremely difficult for him to absorb the Tao power of void. The refinement of this single thread of Tao laws lasted for 10 whole days. After 10 days, Ning Fan still had not succeeded in refining the slightest bit of the Tao power of void. Instead, he suffered a lot of injuries from the backlash of the Tao power of void in his body. Ning Fan let out a long sigh. He knew that with his current Tao of void, it was impossible for him to refine the countless threads of Tao laws in the golden ball of light. If he could refine all the threads of Tao laws in the golden ball of light, the benefits he could reap would certainly not be small. Today, however, he could only hold a mountain of treasures without getting anything in return. After dispersing all the Tao power of void in his body, Ning Fan began to heal his injuries. After another 3 days, his injuries were completely healed. He kept the Eastern Ocean bell in his profound Yin world and stood up with a sigh. Even though there were a lot of threads of Tao laws in the Eastern Ocean bell, he did not have the fortune to enjoy them for the time being. If I gain some insights from studying the Tao of void in the future, I can refine the threads of Tao laws in the Eastern Ocean bell again. However, I can't do it now. I have already stayed in the profound Yin world for 13 days. I wonder if the commotion in the outside world has already subsided. Ning Fan still wanted to look for that devil chi crystal. Thus, he naturally did not want to continue staying in the profound Yin world. After remaining silent for a while, Ning Fan's figure flashed and he left the profound Yin world, appearing in the starry sky of the Eastern Ocean star region. This place was extremely far away from Eastern Ocean star. In the nearby starry sky, there were figures hurriedly flying past. Some of these cultivators belonged to the Godly Void Pavilion, some belonged to the Four Fish sect and some belonged to other Eastern Heaven forces. 13 days had passed since the end of the Great Battle. Currently, the Eastern Ocean star region was in a state of martial law. Heaven, Earth, Profound and Yellow were 4 levels of martial law. Earth was the second level of martial law. Foreign cultivators who enter or leave the Eastern Ocean star region must be strictly inspected. However, Ning Fan was already in the Eastern Ocean star region. Thus, he did not need to be inspected. Most of the cultivators who were traveling in the Star River were at the Void Fragmentation realm. Occasionally, there would also be cultivators at the second step. When Ning Fan suddenly appeared in the Star River, he shocked many Void Fragmentation realm experts. However, when these people saw that Ning Fan had a mid-ghost profound realm cultivation base, all of them were filled with reverence. None of them went forward to question him. Ning Fan, however, took the initiative to step forward and stopped a Void Fragmentation realm cultivator of the Four Fish sect, trying to ask him a few questions. The person whom Ning Fan stopped was a middle-aged scholar at the second heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation realm. His surname was Li. Even though he belonged to the Four-Fish sect, his position in the sect was not high. Thus, he rarely had the chance to talk to a senior at the second step. At this moment, when Ning Fan stopped the scholar with the surname Li for questioning, he felt both nervous and excited. In his eyes, Ning Fan was a high and mighty mid-ghost profound realm old monster. Any opportunity that Ning Fan casually gave him would be enough for him to enjoy for the rest of his life. If senior has any doubts, please tell me. This junior will certainly tell you everything I know without holding back. This scholar with the surname Li had been stuck at the second heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm for a long time. He desired every opportunity to break through to the third heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. In response to Ning Fan's questions, he almost told him everything he knew. He only hoped that after his answers satisfied Ning Fan would grant him some benefits. What Ning Fan asked him was naturally the situation in the Eastern Heaven after the Great Battle. The Slaughter Palace did not suffer any impact from the chaos in the Eastern Heaven this time. Only a few slaughter pavilions were implicated and destroyed because the cultivation planets where they were located were destroyed by the Sen Luo tribe. To the dignified Slaughter Palace, such a loss was naturally not a big deal. The Slaughter Palace also did not take any action against the chaos in the Eastern Heaven this time. Instead, they just looked on coldly from the sidelines. In the chaos in the Eastern Heaven this time, the two-star regions that suffered the greatest losses were the Nine Nether Star region and the Hongzhe Star region. The great sovereigns who were in charge of these two-star regions had fallen one after another. It was just a matter of time when these two-star regions would decline. It was not something that Ning Fan was concerned about. The Godly Void Pavilion also suffered heavy losses. It was said that before Sen Luo left the Heaven Realm, he had killed many old monsters in the Heaven Realm. In addition to the two immortal venerables who were killed by him previously, the Godly Void Pavilion had lost a total of 8 experts who were beyond the ancient times in this chaos. The heaven-suppressing bell was also still being repaired. It was said that the next bell sacrifice would be delayed. Among the 1 million cultivators of the Four-Fish sect, 80 to 90% had already left. Only 10% of the cultivators remained in the Eastern Sea Star region to help with the repair of the heaven-suppressing bell. Regarding the Godly Void Pavilion, Ning Fan was still most concerned about the little demoness. Of course, because of Sen Luo, he also mentioned about Xiao Qinyu who was resurrected by the Tao remnant. In reply to Senior's question, the Godly Void young lord is currently in seclusion. It is said that he obtained a certain treasure that can remove the residual poison in his body. As for what kind of poison it is, I also do not know. I only know that this seclusion will last for at least a year. As for the newly resurrected female monarch of the Godly Void Pavilion, it is said that on the second day after the Great Chaos ended, she left the Eastern Sea Star region on a gigantic beast. No one knows where she went. Xiao Qinyu has left the Eastern Sea Star region, huh? Ning Fan nodded his head slightly. Regarding Xiao Qinyu, he only asked a few more questions for Sen Luo's sake. As for the little demoness, he cared about her from the bottom of his heart. The little demoness was currently in seclusion. It seemed like she was planning to completely remove the poison in her body. This made Ning Fan feel at ease. Then, he asked about some other questions. Ning Fan then asked about the situation of the Primal Pill Star region. Facing the Primal Pill Great Sovereign who was coveting his yin-yang locket, Ning Fan was still unable to feel completely at ease. In reply to Senior, the Primal Pill Star region is currently in a heaven-grade martial law. Almost no cultivators are going out. All of them are busy repairing the domain gate of the Extreme Pill Sacred region. Scholarly answered respectfully. Repairing the domain gate of the Extreme Pill Sacred region? What do you mean? Ning Fan's expression changed. I also heard about it from my companions. According to rumors, the main culprit of the chaos in the Eastern Heaven this time, Sen Luo had taken away a secret treasure from the Primal Pill Star region. This treasure was originally the key item to open the domain gate of the Extreme Pill sacred region. This item was borrowed by Sun Luo and was eventually destroyed, causing the domain gate of the Extreme Pill sacred region to be damaged. The opening time of the sacred region will have to be delayed. It will take at least 100 years to repair the domain gate. In other words, the Extreme Pill sacred region will not be opened within 100 years. Ning Fan frowned. It's like this. Moreover, I have received news that even if the domain gate is repaired, the number of cultivators entering the sacred region will probably be greatly reduced. Scholarly answered respectfully. Upon hearing this, Ning Fan's frown deepened. He originally planned to go to the medicine sect after stealing the Joss flames in the Quicksand Star region and other places to prepare for entering the Extreme Pill sacred region. Now, it seemed like the matter of entering the sacred region would be delayed for at least 100 years. Forget it. It's better to enter the sacred region later. The chaos in the Eastern Heaven this time has brought me a lot of opportunities and benefits. I need a lot of time to absorb and refine them. Besides, the other inheritance of Great Emperor Ancient Chaos is most likely in the Divine Tomb. If I'm not in a hurry to enter the sacred region, I can first obtain this inheritance. With that in mind, Ning Fan asked Scholarly a few more questions. Then, he casually gave the latter a storage pouch and vanished in a flash. Scholarly scanned the storage pouch with his spirit sense. When he saw that there were 1 million Dao crystals in it, his heart could not help but beat wildly. He could not suppress the excitement in his heart. This senior is so generous. To him, 1 million Dao crystals was an astronomical number. To Ning Fan, 1 million Dao crystals were insignificant and not worth mentioning. Ning Fan flew all the way to the outer region of the Eastern Sea Star region. His speed was comparable to old monster Duzhen's. Even so, he only reached the outer region of the Eastern Sea Star region after flying at full speed for half a month. One had to admit that the Eastern Sea Star region was very vast. Only old monsters like Sun Luo could travel across the Imperial Star region in a few steps. With Ning Fan's current speed, it was impossible for him to do so. The outer region of the Eastern Sea Star region was severely damaged. Many cultivation planets were destroyed by the residual waves of Sun Luo's magic techniques. There were even countless Divine Void Realm experts who died in this place. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with azure rain intent. Bathing in the drizzle of the starry sky, he sped towards a certain half-ruined cultivation planet. In Ning Fan's memory, after the heavenly devil who looked like Mo Luo died, the devil chi crystal that was formed from his body fell on this cultivation planet. This planet was called the Spirit Platform Star. The Star Lord was once an 8th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm expert. However, he died in the battle where he participated in the siege against Sun Luo. In that kind of battle, his 8th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivation base seemed so insignificant. Thus, he was not valued by the godly Void Pavilion. There were almost no divine Void Realm cultivators patrolling this half-ruined Spirit Platform Star. This half-ruined Spirit Platform Star was currently suffering from the suffering of the war. The Spirit Platform Star, Slanting Moon Mountain. This mountain was originally the abode of the Spirit Platform Star Lord. Today, after the death of the Star Lord in battle, the star was half destroyed. Then, it was attacked by devil beasts and turned into a devil abyss of hell. Devil beasts ran amok in the mountain range of 1 million li around the Slanting Moon Mountain. Any cultivator who enters the range of the Slanting Moon Mountain would immediately be besieged by groups of devil beasts. Since a long time ago, the Spirit Platform Star had been attacked by the local devil beasts. All along, the cultivators of the Spirit Platform Star had relied on the suppression of the Spirit Platform Star Lord to barely occupy this star. Due to the great chaos in the Eastern Heaven, the Spirit Platform Star Lord had fallen. There were even more Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators who died in the battle. With the current strength of the cultivators of the Spirit Platform Star, it was impossible for them to continue suppressing the attacks of the devil beasts. Unfortunately, the godly void pavilion had too many big and small cultivation planets to take care of. They had no time to take care of such a small star at the edge. It couldn't be helped. The Eastern Sea star region was too big and there were too many cultivation planets. The situation this time was really too serious, causing the godly void pavilion to have no time to deal with it. At this moment, at the foot of the slanting moon mountain, a tall and skinny old man who wore apricot yellow Taoist robes was protecting a group of disciples and grand disciples, resisting the attacks of the group of devil beasts. This old man's name was Lu Zhou. He was once one of the 4 great guardians under the spirit platform Star Lord. His cultivation base was at the 4th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. He was the last batch of cultivators who evacuated from the slanting moon mountain. He was trying to protect his disciples and grand disciples from the group of devil beasts' attacks. Lu Zhou did not understand why the devil beasts on the spirit platform star would go crazy after the death of the Star Lord. They attacked the direction of the slanting moon mountain without fear of death, trying to occupy this area. He loved watching the stars the most. On the day when the great battle broke out, he once saw a black starlight streaking across the sky and falling near the slanting moon mountain. Perhaps, the chaos of the devil beasts on the spirit platform star was related to that black starlight falling from the sky. However, these were not the things that Lu Zhou was most concerned about. At this moment, he only cared about one thing, and that was whether he could protect his disciples and grand disciples and kill their way out of the devil beasts' encirclement. Among the devil beasts that surrounded them, there were 7 void fragmentation realm devil beasts and more than 300 void refinement realm ferocious beasts. Among them, the one with the highest cultivation base was at the 5th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. In this place, he was the only void fragmentation realm human. The disciples and grand disciples behind him were mostly low-level disciples at the nascent soul realm and divine transformation realm. The 8 void refinement realm subordinates that he brought along had all been killed in battle. He was the only void fragmentation realm cultivator. Master, you should kill your way out of the encirclement by yourself. Don't care about us anymore. I don't want to drag you down. A late divine transformation realm burly man with curly beard said to Lu Zhou with a resolute expression. Nonsense. Who do you think I am? Even if I die, I will die. How can I leave all of you behind? If I die, let's die together. Lu Zhou shouted coldly. Once again, he used his sword to repel the attacks of the group of beasts. However, he was already on the verge of death. It was unknown how long he could hold on. Grandmaster, Qin doesn't want to die. Quickly save me. Qin still wants to get married. She still wants to marry cousin Xiao. Why? Why isn't cousin Xiao coming to save me? Sob sob sob. A beautiful girl in red robes watched as the tide of beasts approached her again and again. The fear in her eyes became more and more intense. She was merely a mid-nascent soul realm cultivator. She did not want to die in battle here. Shut up. Don't talk nonsense and distract me. The burly man with curly beard immediately rebuked the girl in red robes after hearing her words. However, his eyes were also gradually filled with despair. He could vaguely tell that even his master might not be able to kill his way out of the encirclement of the beasts today, let alone himself and the others. When Lu Zhou saw the despairing expressions of his disciples and grand disciples behind him, he let out a long sigh. He was already prepared to die. He held his sword horizontally, wanting to ignite his primordial spirit and perish together with the devil beasts in this place. At this moment, the devil beasts who were preparing to attack Lu Zhou suddenly revealed expressions of fear. They trembled uncontrollably and prostrated themselves on the ground. None of them dared to take a step forward or launch any attacks at Lu Zhou. This scene made Lu Zhou's expression change. He immediately realized that some sort of change had occurred on the battlefield. A skinny young man in snow-white robes suddenly appeared in the sky. He landed on the blood-stained battlefield just like that. When all the devil beasts saw him, they began to tremble even more violently. "Stand down." Ning Fan gave a cold order. The aura force in his words was enough to crush the entire sky of the spirit platform star. The thick demonic fog that shrouded the crescent mountain strangely dissipated because of his words. All of the devil beasts immediately acted as if they were facing a great enemy. In their eyes, the baleful chi in Ning Fan's body was terrifying. He was a peerless devil lord whom they must never offend. The group of beasts scattered like the tide, as if they were afraid that if they were a step slower, they would lose their lives. Lu Zhou was stunned by this scene. He was born in the eastern Sea Star region. Although his cultivation wasn't high, he had seen a few second-step human profound realm seniors. But among the few human Xian seniors he had met in his life, none of them could scare off the magical beasts on the spirit platform star without revealing a trace of their aura. Lu Zhou firmly believed that the cultivation of this young man in white who had suddenly appeared was higher than the human Xian realm. He had most likely reached the ghost Xian realm. When Lu Zhou thought of the fact that a ghost profound life immortal realm senior had come to this place and saved his life, he was extremely excited. Tears of gratitude flowed down his face. He kept his sword and bowed deeply to Ning Fan without saying anything. Senior's life-saving grace is like giving me a new lease on life. Junior is unable to repay this debt even if I die 10,000 times. I am willing to do everything in my power to repay Senior's life-saving grace. No need. I want to enter this mountain for cultivation. All of you are not allowed to enter and disturb me. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan's figure flashed and he flew towards the crescent mountain. The young lady in red robes who was talking about Cousin Xiao earlier felt as if her heart was about to be drunk when she saw Ning Fan's appearance and aura. How could she still remember Cousin Xiao? If I can become Dao companions with this senior, I am willing to die. Nonsense. What kind of identity does this senior have? Is he someone whom a mere nascent soul realm cultivator like you can dream about? Don't speak nonsense. Be careful not to offend this senior. As soon as he heard the words of the young lady in red robes, Lu Zhou immediately harumphed and reprimanded her. He was really afraid. With his eyesight, he could tell that Ning Fan was a cold-blooded and heartless devil cultivator at first glance. This kind of person had a strong cultivation base and could kill as he pleased. Once he is offended, the consequences would be unimaginable. Chapter 795. As for Lu Zhou and the others, Ning Fan just saved them out of convenience. He did not attach much importance to them. The reason why he saved Lu Zhou was because he admired Lu Zhou's determination to die rather than abandon a junior. That was all. With just a single step, he arrived at the deepest part of the oblique moon mountain range. There were many devil beasts in this mountain, but none of them dared to offend Ning Fan. The reason why these devil beasts were afraid of Ning Fan was not because of his powerful devil bloodline. Instead, they were just afraid of the baleful chi hidden in his body. Ever since Ning Fan had refined the ghost mask, the devil beasts in this place would never be able to sense the grade of his devil blood if he was unwilling to do so. The spirit platform star was a low-grade cultivation star. The strongest cultivators and devil beasts on the star were only at the void fragmentation realm. In the oblique moon mountain range, there were a total of 34 void fragmentation realm devil beasts. The one with the highest cultivation base had even reached the 7th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. 7th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. In the 9 worlds of the lower world, a 7th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm expert would definitely be considered as an earth-shattering figure. However, in front of the current Ning Fan, a 7th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm devil beast could only prostrate before him. It definitely did not have the courage to provoke him. Roar! The moment Ning Fan stepped into the oblique moon mountain range, a 7th level Shatterer devil beast let out a warning roar. It was not warning Ning Fan, but the beasts in the Crescent Mountain range. It was warning them to hide in their own nests and not to provoke Ning Fan no matter what. Ning Fan walked along a stream between the mountains and walked all the way to the mountainside. He also heard the demonic roar, but he didn't care. The demonic beasts he encountered along the way all prostrated themselves on the ground, not daring to make things difficult for him for fear of offending him. There were also quite a number of devil beasts that had transformed into their human forms. They stood in the middle of the bushes and bowed to Ning Fan respectfully. These devil beasts were the local devil race of the Ling Tai Mountain. Even though they were enemies with the cultivators of the Ling Tai Mountain, they did not dare to offend a second-step cultivator like Ning Fan. Ning Fan did not go on a killing spree on the spirit platform star. He did not harbor any enmity towards the devil race in this place. He only had one purpose in coming to this planet, and that was to obtain the devil chi crystal that had fallen on this planet. The source of the stream was a small jade-green stone pond located halfway up the mountain. There was originally a row of bamboo buildings near the pool, left behind by the cultivators who once lived here. According to Ning Fan's senses, the devil chi crystal left behind by the heavenly devil had fallen into this pool. There was no overflowing devil chi like he had imagined. At this moment, the devil chi crystal sank to the bottom of the pond. Its color was dim, like an ordinary stone, and it did not attract any attention. First-step cultivators and demonic beasts simply could not sense anything unusual about this stone. The demonic beasts of the spirit platform star had gone on a rampage and besieged the Crescent Mountain range, all for the sake of the demonic chi crystal. Unfortunately, no one knew where the crystal was. What Lu Zhou didn't know was that the black meteor he saw when he was observing the stars that day was the demonic aura crystal. What the beasts did not know was that the heavenly demonic crystal that they had painstakingly searched for in the Crescent Mountain was in this inconspicuous stone pond. When Ning Fan arrived at the small stone pond, there were 2 little girls playing in the water. The 2 little girls looked to be less than 3 years old. One of them had pigtails and a pink headband. She was wearing a red dress and a red coat. The other had her hair tied up and had a big black bow on her head. She was wearing a black jacket and skirt. Her red lips and white teeth made her look extremely adorable. They were barefooted in the water. The water was just above their calves. There was a faint flow of demonic chi on their bodies. It was very faint, but it couldn't escape Ning Fan's eyes. Ning Fan could tell at a glance that these 2 little girls were devils. Although there was demonic chi on their bodies, it was extremely weak. It was only equivalent to the 1st or 2nd level of the vein opening realm. The 2 little girls were originally playing in the water. When they saw Ning Fan suddenly appear, they were startled. After seeing the appearance of the person who came, the 2 little girls heaved a sigh of relief. The one with pigtails giggled and said in a childish voice, "Yunyun was scared to death. Yunyun was scared to death. I thought it was Elder, but it turns out that it was the second-step cultivator that Elder mentioned. Fortunately, it isn't Grandpa. Grandpa never allows us to play in the water. He will punish us every time we see it. Grandpa said that before we reach the harmonious spirit realm, we must stay away from all water sources. Once the devil fire in our hearts is extinguished, we will lose our lives. Hee, since it isn't Grandpa, let's continue playing. Chin loves playing with water the most. Aya, should we greet this second-step big brother? Let's go. Grandpa said that we must be polite when meeting guests. Let's go greet the guests quickly. The little girl with a butterfly knot on her head cheered and jumped in the stone pond. She pulled the other little girl along as they stepped on the water and ran towards Ning Fan without the slightest bit of fear. The 2 little girls of the devil race naturally heard the warning of the devil roar, but they didn't think much of it. The devil roar was issued by their grandpa. He repeatedly warned the devils of the Crescent Mountain to never offend Ning Fan, this second-step old monster. Unfortunately, the two little girls in the pond were still very young. How could they understand the meaning of the second step? To them, vein opening, harmonious spirit, and second step were extremely unfamiliar terms that they couldn't understand. To them, there was no one in this world that was more terrifying than their grandpa. After all, when their grandpa was angry, he would hit their palms. Moreover, in the eyes of the two little girls, Ning Fan looked like a kind person who could be bullied by others. He didn't look like an evil person at all. "Hello, big brother of the second step. I'm Chin Chin. She's my younger sister. Her name is Yun Yun." The little girl who had a butterfly knot on her head walked towards Ning Fan barefooted while pulling the other little girl and said in a childish voice. Ning Fan was slightly stunned. Then, he looked at the two little girls in front of him with great amusement. All the devils in the mountains and plains feared him like a tiger and avoided him from 1,000 li. However, these two little girls weren't afraid of him at all. They even called him Big Brother of the second step. It was really interesting. Presumably, these two little girls had heard the devil roar just now and knew that he had the cultivation base of the second step. However, they didn't understand the meaning of the second step at all. "Aren't you too afraid of me?" Ning Fan asked with a smile. "Why should we be afraid?" The two little girls asked back with a puzzled look. "Why?" Ning Fan was stunned. Then, he laughed involuntarily. "That's right. Why did these two little girls have to be afraid of him? Was it because his cultivation base was high? Was it because he could easily take the lives of all the devils in this place? Why did those with low cultivation base have to be afraid of those with high cultivation base? Why did the common people have to be afraid of those who were high and mighty? It's right that you two aren't afraid of me. However, the rules of this world are wrong." Ning Fan smiled and then sighed. After hearing Ning Fan's sigh that carried a profound meaning, the two little girls wore blank expressions, expressing their puzzlement. Ning Fan did not expect the two little girls to understand him. Then, he smiled at them and said, "You two are still young. You're so young. Why are you playing here alone? Don't let your parents worry." When he said that, he originally wanted the two girls to go home obediently. However, as soon as he said that, the two girls' expressions turned gloomy. Their eyes turned red and they sobbed. Father was killed by the spirit platform Star Lord. Mother wanted to snatch father's corpse back, but the spirit platform Star Lord extracted her primordial spirit and refined it into a pill. Ning Fan's heart was slightly moved. He kept his smile and looked at the sky with a gloomy expression. The Spirit Platform Star Lord was the leader of the cultivators of the Spirit Platform Star. However, he was also the nightmare of the devil race. When war broke out, there would be orphans among the cultivators. Those who lost their parents in the devil race were also orphans. After a while, Ning Fan squatted down and wiped away the tears of the two little girls. "Are there any elders in your family?" "There's also Grandpa, is that so?" "I want to take something from this stone pond. The process might be a little dangerous. Can you two leave this place temporarily and go home to find your grandpa to avoid the danger here?" "No. I don't want to leave yet. I haven't played enough." Yun Yun shook her head like a rattle drum and pouted her lips to express her objection. She had not played enough and she did not want to leave at all. "Brother, you want to take something from this stone pond? What is it? Will it really be dangerous? Do we really need to avoid it?" Chin Chin did not object to it. She wiped her tears and asked carefully. "Yes. There will be some danger. I can't tell you what it is. However, I can tell you that the surroundings of this pond might be attacked soon. It's better for you to go home and avoid it. Of course, if you really don't want to leave, you can hide behind me. I will protect you." Having said that, Ning Fan stood up and looked at the two little girls with a smile. There were some hidden dangers in the devil chi crystal. The process of taking the crystal might be a little dangerous. Ning Fan had been repeatedly checking the devil chi crystal along the way. After repeated checks, Ning Fan was sure that with his current cultivation base, it wouldn't be difficult for him to eliminate the hidden devil in the devil chi crystal and retrieve the crystal. If the two little girls were unwilling to leave, he would not force them. To him, it wasn't difficult to protect the two little girls during the process of taking the crystal. Ning Fan didn't hate the two little girls with pure hearts. Instead, he liked them a little, even if they were born in the devil race. What he liked was the purity of the two little girls' hearts. They weren't tainted by the laws of the world. Ning Fan had always been indifferent to the difference between the three races. In his opinion, the devil was cultivation. Only those who are inclusive can control everything. The cultivation principle of the yin-yang transformation was to embrace everything that could be used. This point had long been integrated into Ning Fan's Tao sense. Just as Ning Fan's voice faded, the anxious voice of an old man suddenly resounded in the sky. "Senior, please forgive them. They are my granddaughters. They are young and ignorant. If they said something wrong and offended you, I hope that you will be magnanimous and don't lower yourself to the same level as the two little girls." As soon as the voice faded, a seventh heavenly layer void fragmentation realm red-haired old man descended from the sky, stepping on a flaming devil cloud. He was wearing a flaming armor. The moment he landed, he immediately shielded the two little girls behind him and cupped his fists at Ning Fan. His expression was extremely nervous. The chi of this old man was obviously the same chi as the devil beast that let out the devil roar. They were the same person. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. He knew that this devil was the fire devil that let out the devil roar. He was also the grandfather of the two little girls. "Grandfather. Why are you here?" The two little girls asked nervously as soon as they saw the old man. They were worried that the old man would punish them for playing in the water. "Shut up. Don't ask a single question." The red-haired old man fiercely scolded the two girls. His expression was full of concern and nervousness. He gritted his teeth and said respectfully to Ning Fan, "Since Senior has something to do, I will not disturb you anymore. I will leave with the two little girls now." He was afraid. He was afraid that his two ignorant girls would offend the fiend Ning Fan and lose their lives. How could the two little girls understand these things? When they heard the stern tone of their grandfather, their eyes immediately turned red. However, they did not dare to cry. Obviously, they were extremely afraid of him. Ning Fan shook his head and said, "It's all right. It's good to have you here. You stay here with the two little girls and hide 10 zhang behind me. Don't move recklessly. Later, I will take an item from the stone pond. This process might trigger a strange phenomenon of devil chi. It will be very beneficial to the two little girls." Devil chi overflow. After hearing Ning Fan's words, the red-haired old man's expression changed. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The so-called devil chi overflow was a phenomenon that could only be triggered after the death of a second-step devil beast. After the death of a second-step devil beast, the enormous magic power in its body would have a certain chance to turn into a devil chi overflow phenomenon. The range of the phenomenon would not be too wide. If there were low-grade devils who had yet to reach the harmonious spirit realm within the range, they would be blessed by the devil chi. Their meridians and marrow would be cleansed and they would obtain great benefits, which could greatly improve their potential in devil cultivation. Of course, the phenomenon of devil chi overflow would not appear so easily. Only a few powerful devil beasts could cause such a phenomenon after their death. The red-haired old man did not know why Ning Fan came to the Oblique Moon mountain range. He also did not know if Ning Fan could really trigger the devil chi overflow phenomenon to bring some good fortune to his two granddaughters. He only knew that Ning Fan was extremely strong and he was not someone he could fight. He must not offend. If Ning Fan did not allow him to leave, he would not dare to leave the area of the stone pond. The red-haired old man sighed softly. He held the two little boys in each of his hands and stood 10 zhang away from Ning Fan's back according to his order. The two little boys looked at their grandfather, who had a nervous and fearful expression, feeling puzzled. In their impression, their grandfather did not show much fear even when he saw the spirit platform Star Lord. They could not understand why their grandfather would be so afraid of Ning Fan. Ning Fan obviously looked like a harmless big brother. "What's your name?" Ning Fan did not turn around, but his voice went into the red-haired old man's ears. "Junior's name is Kulong. I'm a devil beast of the Fire Devil clan." The red-haired old man immediately answered nervously after hearing Ning Fan's question. "Kulong, is it? You have already taken half a step into the 8th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm by tempering your primordial spirit with devil flames. The reason why you are stuck at the bottleneck and could not break through is not because of the power of the flames but because of the essence of the flames," Ning Fan said indifferently. Suddenly, he waved his hand. Black devil flames rushed out from his sleeves and instantly condensed into a gigantic flaming palm above the stone pond. Then, he slapped it hard. As soon as he slapped the palm, endless waves of fire immediately surged out in circles. However, they were surrounded by Ning Fan and sealed within the area of the stone pond. The waves of fire suddenly turned into black fiery butterflies. They were so fine that even the stripes on their wings could be seen clearly. The fiery butterflies rushed into the pond. Strangely, they did not have any reaction with the water. Each of these fiery butterflies had an astonishing temperature. However, they did not cause any evaporation of the pond water. "This is..." Kulong's eyes widened in surprise. He had never seen such an exquisite fire control technique. When two objects come into contact with each other, the one with a higher temperature would always transfer heat to the one with a lower temperature. However, the fiery butterflies that were transformed from Ning Fan's flames did not lose any of their heat. The scorching heat did not transfer to the pond water at all. Naturally, the pond water did not evaporate at all. This kind of exquisite fire control technique might not be unfamiliar to second-step cultivators. However, to Kulong, it was the first time he had seen something like this in his life. The reason why he could not break through to the 8th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm was precisely because he lacked the ability to control fire. The moment he saw Ning Fan's fire control technique, Kulong felt as if a new door had opened in front of him. This door would lead him all the way to the 8th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. "Thank you for your guidance, Senior." This sentence was stuck in Kulong's throat. Before he could say it out, his expression changed greatly. He looked at the stone pond not far away with fear. When the fiery butterflies entered the stone pond, it immediately caused a huge change. Visible substantial devil chi rushed out from the stone pond in a frenzy. In the center of the devil chi, a stone with a dim light flew high up into the sky. At first, the stone was dim. A moment later, it suddenly shone with bright light and turned into a sparkling and translucent devil chi crystal. As soon as the crystal was formed, the devil chi in the surrounding area suddenly rushed towards the crystal and attached to it. Then, it transformed into a 30 zhang large devil head and kept the crystal inside its body. This devil head did not have a mouth or eyes. There were 2 embryonic horns on its head which had yet to fully grow. There were also 6 bald wings on its back. However, they were still far from fully grown. Even so, the aura force of this devil had almost reached the mid-human profound realm. This is an early human profound realm devil creature. Its cultivation base is already close to breaking through the early human profound realm and attaining the mid-human profound realm. Kulong said in disbelief. He never knew that there was actually a second-step devil creature hiding in the nameless stone pond of the Tilting Moon Mountain Range. Even though this devil creature was only at the early human profound realm, it gave Kulong a feeling that it was invincible. The 2 little girls also became afraid. Even though they were insensible little children, they were still members of the devil race after all. They could instinctively feel how terrifying the devil creature in front of them was. It was even scarier than their elder and the spirit platform Star Lord. Just when Kulong and the two little girls were terrified, Ning Fan's calm voice suddenly entered their ears. "Don't be afraid. It's just a devil creature that has reached the end of its road." His tone was filled with slight disdain. Suddenly, he raised his hand and more devil flames condensed into a palm of fire. Then, he slapped the devil creature that had just taken form. With just a single palm strike, a dignified early human profound realm devil creature was directly smashed into pieces. Devil chi sizzled and disappeared in the vast sky, killing a human profound realm devil creature with a single palm strike. How is this possible? That's a human profound realm devil creature. Kulong cried out in disbelief. The two little girls, on the other hand, were completely dumbfounded. They were like two exquisitely carved porcelain dolls, not moving at all. After killing this devil creature, Ning Fan's hand moved at lightning speed. He directly held the devil chi crystal in his hand and felt the vast devil chi within it. "This crystal is a little strange," Ning Fan muttered. Chapter 796. Ning Fan did not continue to examine the crystal. He kept the crystal and calmly looked at the vast sky. An oval-shaped crack of devil chi gradually appeared in the sky. Purple-brown devil chi spread out from the crack and immediately enveloped the land within a radius of 10,000 li. Suddenly, a gigantic devil shadow appeared in the sky above the slanting moon mountain range. The moment the devil shadow appeared, 9 purple-brown vortexes appeared in the sky. An indescribable great divine ability immediately descended on the land within 10,000 li of the slanting moon mountain range. At this moment, in the Crescent Mountain, all the demonic creatures who saw this strange phenomenon were shocked. Many of them had heard about the phenomenon of devil chi pouring into one's head, but they never thought that they could witness it with their own eyes. Chin Chin and Yunyun's bodies suddenly became warm. Their pink and tender skin emitted a strange fiery light. A mark of fire appeared on their glabella. That was the sign of being a fire devil. The two children felt a warm force constantly flowing into their bodies. It was extremely comfortable, but they did not know why. Kulong, who was at the side, looked at his two granddaughters with surprise and joy. Devil chi pouring into one's head. It's really devil chi pouring into one's head. These two little girls are going to have great fortune in the future. I'm afraid it's very likely for them to break through to the second step of their cultivation realm in this lifetime. Ning Fan did not even look at Kulong. He just stared at the devil chi in the sky and shook his head slightly. His eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. It's still not enough. The devil chi is too scattered. I need to gather more. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand and clawed at the sky. The devil chi that stretched for 10,000 li immediately gathered crazily with the rocky pond as the center. The area covered by the phenomenon decreased rapidly. From 10,000 miles, it gradually became 1,000 miles, 100 miles, 10 miles. In the end, under Ning Fan's control, the strange phenomenon of devil chi pouring into the two children's bodies only covered a radius of 100 zhang around the rocky pond. As the area covered by the strange phenomenon decreased, more devil chi poured into the two children's bodies. Naturally, the effect of their meridians and marrow cleansing became more obvious. Kulong looked at Ning Fan in disbelief. He could not imagine that Ning Fan could not only kill a human profound devil lord with a single palm strike and induce the strange phenomenon of devil chi pouring into one's head. Moreover, he could also reduce the area of the strange phenomenon with a great ability and increase the effect of devil chi pouring into one's head. It's impossible that this senior is just at the human profound realm. I'm afraid that he has already stepped into the second half of the life immortal realm, the profound ghost realm. Mysterious ghost life immortal. Kulong's heart fiercely jumped. In his mind, the human profound life immortal was already a rare powerhouse in eastern sky, and the ghost profound life immortal was even more of a supreme existence. Gui Xian could be considered the overlord of a middle or low-rank starfield. Even in an imperial star region like the East Peak Star region, not everyone would dare offend Gui Xian. The East Peak Star system was the territory of the Godly Void Pavilion. There were a total of 180,000 cultivation planets and countless large and small sects that were all under the jurisdiction of the Godly Void Pavilion. In the Eastern Peak Galaxy, sects were divided into 10 levels. The first to the 5th grade were forces at the Gold Core Realm or the Void Fragmentation Realm. The 6th to 10th ranks were the Life Immortals and the Eternal Immortals. In the past, the most powerful organization on Spirit Altar planet had been the Tilting Moon sect, led by Starlord Spirit Altar, an 8th Demolisher. In the Godly Void Pavilion, the Slanted Moon sect was only a 5th level sect. Only a power with a life immortal overseeing it could be classified as a 6th level sect. 1st to 5th level sects were low-level sections. The Godly Void Pavilion would normally not bother with them. 6th level sects and above had the right to select their cultivators to enter their main sect. 8th level sects and above had the right to participate in the election for the position of an elder of the Godly Void Pavilion. Ghost Realm cultivators like Ning Fan were usually old ancestor-level figures in 6th level sections. Normally, Kulong almost did not have any chance to meet an old monster like Ning Fan. Suddenly, a bold idea emerged in Kulong's mind. His eyes flashed with determination. He cupped his fists and bowed to Ning Fan. First, he expressed his thanks to Ning Fan for teaching him the fire ignition technique and helping the two children with devil chi. After thanking him, Kulong took a deep breath and said to Ning Fan, "May I ask if Senior has the intention to accept disciples? Are you willing to find a disciple and teach them your Tao inheritance?" "Accept disciples? Are you referring to them?" Ning Fan looked at the two children and asked. "Yes." Kulong was extremely excited. He could already see that Ning Fan was extremely fond of these two little girls. Naturally, he could not wait for Ning Fan to accept them as disciples. If these two children could have a Ghost Realm master, their future would certainly be limitless. "It's not a good thing to receive my Tao inheritance. Let's not talk about this anymore." Ning Fan rejected him flatly. "Senior, do you dislike their identity as the devil race?" Kulong asked with a bitter smile. Ning Fan shook his head and did not answer him. He just asked Kulong to bring the two children away. He ordered Kulong to withdraw all the devil beasts to the outer area of the Oblique Moon Mountain Range. No one was allowed to enter the inner area without permission. He wanted to cultivate in seclusion here. He did not tell Kulong that the reason why he was unwilling to accept disciples was not because of their identity as the devil race. It was just that he was unwilling to pass down his Tao inheritance of the Sea of Blood and Slaughter to them. Ning Fan had only accepted 2 disciples in his life. Both of them were because of his pill refinement techniques. He had never accepted a real disciple and imparted a real Tao inheritance to them. His path of cultivation was too cruel. It was filled with too many sins and massacres. He was unwilling to pass down his Tao inheritance, especially to these 2 pure children who had pure hearts to walk on his path of slaughter. Kulong envied Ning Fan's strength while Ning Fan envied the 2 children's innocence and innocence. He could not bear to destroy them. The reason why the 2 children's eyes were pure was not because they were ignorant. They had seen their parents die tragically and they had seen cultivators kill each other. However, their hearts were still pure because they yearned for the beautiful things in their hearts. Vaguely, Ning Fan recalled that year and that month in the all-pleasure sect. The young girl who begged him to not die also had such a pure and clear expression. Jihe, Ning Fan's eyes were filled with fear. At this moment, he thought of Jihe, Yu country, and the Rain world. He thought of the ups and downs that he had gone through along the way. He thought of the women who had quietly walked past him in his life. He thought of his master, his parents, and the enemies that he had killed out of anger. The beast tide retreated from the inner area of the oblique moon mountain range according to Ning Fan's order. As the sun set, the sound of the zither of the Song of Yuren suddenly resounded from the edge of the small stone pond in the depths of the oblique moon mountain range. The sound of the zither did not stop even when it was late at night. On the second day, a cave dwelling was opened up on the stone wall beside the small stone pond. The owner of the cave dwelling was none other than Ning Fan. He decided to stay at the oblique moon mountain range for the time being to sort out his gains from this trip. Ning Fan had gained quite a lot of benefits during his journey with Sun Luo. His cultivation base had advanced to the mid-ghost profound realm and his ancient divine heart orifice had opened up to the third orifice. Not only that, he also obtained a golden ball of light that was filled with the Tao Law of the Void, a soul-refining pill, a void token and a devil chi crystal. Of course, there were also losses. The ancient devil puppet was severely damaged. It needed to be repaired properly before it could be used again. The first thing that Ning Fan needed to deal with was the soul-refining pill. It was a supreme treasure that could increase the power of his medicine soul. He did not consume the pill immediately. Instead, he first went into seclusion for 10 days to carefully comb the power of his medicine soul. Cultivating the Tao was like rowing a boat against the current. If you don't advance, you will fall behind. It had been a long time since Ning Fan concocted pills and used the power of his medicine soul. Thus, he was a little rusty. Tens of thousands of five-colored butterflies circled around his body. All of them were formed by the power of his medicine soul. 10 days later, Ning Fan entered the profound Yin world with the soul-refining pill. 1 month later, Ning Fan left the profound Yin world. Even though the level of his medicine soul was still very weak, it was already at the high-grade 7th revolution. 5 soul-refining pills that were at the 9 revolutions golden pill level allowed his medicine soul to break through all the way to the mid-grade 7th revolution. Ning Fan was very satisfied with the improvement of his medicine soul. However, the weakness of the power of his medicine soul gave Ning Fan a huge headache. There were 2 ways to quickly condense one's medicine soul. One was to continuously concoct pills while the other was to constantly use his battle soul abilities. Both of them could gradually condense the medicine soul during the process of continuously using his medicine soul. Ning Fan chose the latter method. He had killed a cultivator of the Pill Ancestor sect before. Thus, he also had a few kinds of battle soul secret techniques. Even though they were not strong, they were enough to temper his medicine soul. For 3 whole months, Ning Fan cultivated his battle soul technique in the inner area of the Crescent Mountain. The group of devils in the outer area often sensed the fluctuations of Ning Fan's abilities. At first, they were quite surprised. What surprised them was that Ning Fan was actually a 7th revolution pill refinement master whose grade was not low. Later on, they no longer found it strange. During these 3 months, Kulong would bring Qin Qin and Yunyan to look for Ning Fan from time to time. It was not that Kulong was audacious enough to disobey Ning Fan's order and enter the inner area without permission. It was just that the 2 little kids were too troublesome. They insisted on coming to the inner area to play with Ning Fan. Kulong could not bear it and could only bring the 2 girls to look for Ning Fan. Besides, Kulong still had some selfish motives. In his opinion, even if Ning Fan was unwilling to take the 2 girls as his disciples, as long as he gave them some opportunities, it would be enough for them to enjoy for the rest of their lives. Ning Fan had never exposed Kulong's thoughts. Ning Fan was also really fond of the 2 little kids. Therefore, every time they came, Ning Fan would give them some pills to help them cleanse their meridians and cleanse their marrows. After that, the 2 girls would play by themselves in the small rock pond while Ning Fan would fly to the highest peak of the Crescent Mountain Range, the Flying Mountain Peak, to cultivate his battle soul technique. Gradually, Ning Fan's medicine soul had already been completely condensed. Thus, cultivating the battle soul technique was no longer meaningful. He began to stay in his cave dwelling for seclusion. He held the devil chi crystal in his hand and closed his eyes to meditate. He had already checked the crystal repeatedly. Its effect was vastly different from what he initially thought. On that day, after the heavenly devil who resembled the Mo Luo Great Land died in the Sen Luo Great Land, he left this crystal behind. In the beginning, Ning Fan thought that the crystal would more or less contain some opportunities that could help him improve his ancient devil cultivation realm. However, after some time, Ning Fan realized that there was something strange about this crystal. It was not beneficial for improving his ancient devil cultivation realm, but it had other uses. The real use of this crystal was to transform into a devil head. If Ning Fan's guess was not wrong, this crystal was most likely a rare immortal or called illusory devil crystal. The air in the cave dwelling was damp and there were a lot of dark green moss growing on it. After the group of devils invaded the Crescent Mountain Range, the air in this place was filled with devil chi that could not be dispersed. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. All of a sudden, he waved his hand and gathered all the devil chi in the cave dwelling into his palm, condensing it into a black ball of light. Then, he raised his hand and made the illusory devil crystal fly high up into the sky. With a flick of his finger, the devil chi ball of light shot towards the crystal. Immediately, the crystal let out a sizzling sound and absorbed the devil chi in the ball of light bit by bit. Then, it began to change. The devil chi on the surface of the crystal gradually transformed into the shadow of a one-zhang large devil head. The body of the devil head was illusory. It had no mouth or eyes. It had no horns on its head and no wings on its back. Its cultivation realm was roughly at the first level of the vein opening realm. The crystal was kept in the devil head's dantian. Ning Fan waved his hand again and gathered all the devil chi within 100 li radius into the crystal. The body of the devil head became more solid bit by bit. Its aura force also increased bit by bit. From the first level of the vein opening realm, it advanced all the way to the 7th level of the vein opening realm. After pondering for a while, Ning Fan gathered all the devil chi within 100,000 li radius into the crystal. The body of the devil head became more solid. Its cultivation realm also advanced to the mid-harmonious spirit realm. Moreover, a young horn began to grow on its head. 6 bald devil wings began to grow on its back. Ning Fan's expression changed. All of a sudden, he raised his hand and absorbed all the devil chi in the air of the entire spirit platform star into his cave dwelling. After absorbing all the devil chi in the entire star, the body of the devil head had become completely solid. Moreover, it had grown to 2 zhang tall. Its cultivation realm had also reached the late divine transformation realm. Ning Fan looked at the devil head in front of him. Suddenly, his eyes flashed with the devil light of his ancestral blood. With a sway of his body, he directly flew up and appeared in front of the devil head. He raised one of his fingers and pressed it on the top of the devil head. That finger contained all the ancient devil essence chi in his body. At this moment, the ancient devil chi force of the 4th heavenly layer of the Si-Chen realm swept across the entire Tilting Moon Mountain range. At the periphery of the Tilting Moon Mountain range, all the devil beasts that sensed Ning Fan's monstrous devil chi began to tremble. This time, they were instinctively afraid of the terrifying bloodline aura force in Ning Fan's body. They did not know the exact level of that aura force. They only felt that the aura force was as heavy as a mountain, making them unable to resist it. Once again, Kulong was shocked. It was very hard for him to imagine that Ning Fan actually possessed such powerful devil blood. Inwardly, he guessed that Ning Fan's devil blood was at the king grade. He only dared to make guesses in his mind. Naturally, he did not have the courage to ask Ning Fan directly. Inside the cave dwelling, Ning Fan sent all of his essence chi into the devil head's body. After absorbing all of his essence chi, the devil head's aura force instantly rose to the peak human profound realm. His body grew to 4 zhang tall. Horns completely grew out of his head and the skeletal structure of his 6 wings had also formed. His facial features gradually took shape. His appearance was actually extremely similar to that of Great Emperor Mo Luo. The moment the devil head grew his eyes, he immediately saw Ning Fan in front of him. In just an instant, his eyes burst out with unimaginable fury just because he saw the enemy that he had been thinking about day and night. "I've finally found you. Junior. I'm one of the 6 great crystal slaves of Great Emperor Mo Luo. Qianye Mo Luo. In the past, you destroyed 30% of my master's devil sense. Today, I will make you pay with your blood." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.